SHEEEIT Radio.
That's fucking great, man.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to SHEEEIT Radio, an unrefined podcast for the everyman. The juice is no longer on the loose, but tonight we bring you the story. I'm, of course, Bill Brasky, joined by Wasted, and also joined by Chris.
How you doing, everyone? Wasted, how are you?
Oh, all right.
Please excuse the audio quality. Wasted right now. The Taiwanese have their internet pretty much shut off by the Chinese, so we're struggling a little bit with internet. Wasted's coming us live from a Starbucks in Taiwan, so we might hear some wacky and wild things tonight. But tonight is our OJ Simpson spectacular show. So
hold on a sec there, Brasky. You mean to tell me you're not in the 7-Eleven tonight, Wasted?
No, something happened with my phone. I think the internet had some outages or something in the area, so all my data and internet connections is gone. So this is the only internet I can find. 7-Eleven doesn't seem to have any.
How is the Starbucks in Taiwan?
It's a good one. It's pretty much the same thing there. There's 2 floors.
Nice.
Decent aircon, but a little bit like there's no beer.
Right. Are you having a coffee though, at least?
Yeah, it's some sort of iced coffee.
Nice. Well done. Beautiful. I'm currently. I'm very excited because being the Canadian that I am, it's day 1 of the Stanley Cup playoffs, and I'm currently watching the Toronto Maple Leafs lose badly to the Boston Bruins in Game 1. So I'm happy.
Hold on, Chris.
Yeah.
Repeat that again.
Oh, the Toronto Maple Leafs are losing badly to the Boston Bruins right now. It's not even a game. It's 3-0, and Toronto. Most of the game's been spent in the Toronto zone. They're pulling their typical Toronto bullshit. They're not showing up in the playoffs, so nothing makes me happier to see them to when I see them lose.
No, we do all understand that. I am, of course, from Boston, raised in Boston, live in the Boston area, and been a hardcore Bruins fan since I've been a little boy. There was nothing more enjoyable than finding out that our round 1 matchup after shitting our pants last year against Florida was the fucking Toronto Maple Leafs, because the Toronto Maple Leafs have choked on more dick than fucking Deep Throat. I mean, they just suck, and they're the biggest chokers in the history of hockey, and just watching them lose is an absolute pleasure. The only thing that would make me happier than beating the fuck out of the Maple Leafs is beating your Montreal Canadiens. Wanted you to... Now, Chris, I know we're supposed to be talking about OJ here, but you got me talking hockey. So before we get into OJ, and we're going to get into it, please bear with us. Slow down, calm down, pop yourself a drink, smoke a little of the devil's seed if you need to. But if we're talking hockey, there's one man that, he's the antithesis of hockey to me. The man is hockey. And that, of course, is Don Cherry. So if you want to get any hockey information, get any real hockey takes, folks, go follow Don Cherry on Twitter. Go listen to where he is now. I know TSN fired Don Cherry a few years ago because they're idiots and they're dumbasses. But Don Cherry still is the legend. He still is the best hockey pundit fucking going. Don Cherry, I love you. In a non-gay way, but in a manly way. Don Cherry, tip of the cap to you, sir. Chris, any thoughts on that?
Don Cherry is still cherished in many circles in this country, even though the CBC, TSN, and Sportsnet tried to cancel him a few years ago. he's widely regarded as one of the. He's just a good hockey mind. He knows and understands the game.
Hey, Chris, we're talking hockey, and one of the things in hockey that you get a penalty for is slashing, and that's a perfect segue. We go from slashing to the slasher himself, OJ Simpson. Ladies and gentlemen, last week, OJ Simpson's dead. He died. He passed away. His family came in. He made him sign NDAs, the week of his death, because everything he was saying to them, he sure as hell did not want that becoming public. So it turns out that I, might have done a few things, and but OJ Simpson's dead. I mean, wow, what a major figure in American culture, North American culture, even world culture. I mean, OJ Simpson at one point was as popular as fucking Taylor Swift, and I'm going to say that. At one point, he was bigger than Taylor Swift in the 90s. There was nothing that met the OJ trial to the level of publicity, attention, and viewership. I mean, the OJ trial was pretty much a Super Bowl that went on for a whole fucking year. So we're going to get into that tonight. Anyone's thoughts first about OJ being dead?
I was surprised. I didn't realize he had cancer. So when I found out that he died, I was surprised. What about you, Wasted?
I don't know. I saw something on TV or on a video where he was denying that he had cancer. Oh, yeah, they were saying that I think it was TMZ, they said he was coming out of hospice, and he was joking, saying hospice. I would never go to hospice. I'm having a Super Bowl party on Saturday or something. So he was denying it. I think it was prostate cancer. So maybe he didn't want to admit it.
There's always the possibility, boys, and I don't know if anyone's brought it up yet. I haven't heard the media say it, but maybe the real killers finally got to him. Maybe he was getting too close.
He hunted them down.
At every golf course he could find, he knew they were at the golf courses. He could tell by the crime scene that these guys were definitely avid golfers.
It was crazy him having the way he lived after he got out of jail, or even before that. He went to jail for trying to steal his own memorabilia or something.
Yeah.
But his whole life after that, he didn't seem affected by it at all.
He started dating new blonde women.
Yeah, and he had the golf.
Crazy.
I was watching some YouTube videos where he's showing everybody his new swing, and he was giving medical advice during the panda flu.
That's right.
He has the whole show about how to live. He was showing you how to live the best life.
I remember the OJ Simpson would be anytime there was something big in the sports world, OJ would chime in. It was great. It's folks, them Kansas City Chiefs. It would have been great if Bob Costas just joined them one day, just like the good old days.
Howard Cosell.
They're never going to let Howard get forgiven for what he said. Even though, let me state this about Howard Cosell, and I know we've gotten a little off track already because that's just how we are. But Howard Cosell being labeled as a racist is one of the dumbest fucking things I've ever heard in my life. The man was literally Muhammad Ali's best friend. Okay, Muhammad Ali loved Howard Cosell like a fucking brother. And just to get rid of Howard Cosell because he was shit drunk like he always was, calling football, and he said, "Look at that monkey run." I mean, he's running like a little monkey. He didn't, it was just, he would have said that if it was a white guy. He really would have. The man wasn't racist, and to fucking get rid of him, come on now.
Is that what happened? I knew he got booted off air for something that he said. Is that what he said?
Yeah, there was I believe it was a kickback, and the player was running back. I don't remember who the player was, and he said, "Look at that little monkey run." He was inferring that the man was running like a monkey. He's bouncing around, jumping around. I mean, he wasn't meaning it in a racial way, I don't think, because he literally was Howard Cosell was literally Muhammad Ali's best friend. He would do interviews with him left and right. He'd stand by him when Muhammad Ali refused to go to Vietnam. Howard Cosell stood up for Muhammad Ali. I mean, when your best friend's a black Muslim and the face of black culture in the 70s and 80s, I mean, I don't really see you being a racist. I don't see David Duke and fucking Howard Cosell. I don't get it.
Yeah, I hear you.
But let's get back to the juice. Let's get back to OJ, the guy who used to make Hertz commercials and used to be your friendly neighbor. OJ Simpson at one point in the 80s and the 90s was, a guy that he was covering NBC football. He was a sideline reporter. He was doing Hertz television commercials for rental cars. He was doing Chicken Shack commercials. I mean, the man was just American superstar. I mean, he was in the Naked Gun. Chris, Naked Gun movies. How great were those movies? I mean, if I'm the Goldman family, I'm watching Naked Gun movies all the time to see OJ get fucked up.
Nice beaver. Thanks. I just had it stuffed last week. Like, those movies they're classic. They're taking a page out of the humor from Airplane, and you don't get those movies anymore. I mean, they just couldn't make those movies anymore. They wouldn't be greenlit for mass production because too many people would be offended. But they're classics, man. OJ Simpson was funny in those movies. Like he had a comedic knack to, or a comedy knack to him that was very prevalent in those movies. He was funny.
It also showed how big he was. That he was actually in these like huge mainstream comedy movies.
Absolutely.
He was also in a Hertz commercial, wasn't he? Is that like a car rental thing?
It's back in the day. Hertz was the major car rental. I mean, he was Detective Nordberg and the Naked Gun movies, and every one of those movies that he was in, the man would get like injured horrendously. He'd like fall off buildings, fall off ships. He's always hurt. He was always in cast. I mean, he took a beating, but he was so likable in those movies that like I said, if I'm the Goldman family, I'm watching that fucking movie left and right just to see his ass get hurt.
Did you guys know that he was almost cast in the Terminator?
Yep.
As the Terminator before Arnold Schwarzenegger was considered for the role?
Yeah. Do you know the reason why he didn't get it?
Tell us.
The reason why he didn't get it was because the director, James Cameron, said, I just don't picture you as a killer. I don't think the audience would believe it. I shit you not. That is
I still don't believe it.
No, of course you believe it.
You know what I mean? When I look at him, he always seems like those golf videos. He always seems quite so laid back and nice. I just can't imagine. I remember like my dad coming into the room when I was watching Naked Gun, and we had talked about like OJ, and he was like, he didn't really know that much about it. And I said, "That's OJ," and he said, "What? That's OJ?" He couldn't believe. He was expecting some sort of like psychotic killer, and it was like OJ. He has quite a big, high, sort of funny, like dumb-looking face, like high
looks
forehead.
like a basset hound.
Wasted.
Yeah, he just sort of so friendly.
He hosted Saturday Night Live on February 25th, 1978. He was the host of Saturday Night Live. The man was in the movie Roots. I mean, he was in The Heat of the Night. He was in major films. He was, could you imagine? I don't know where that Saturday Night Live is, and dear God, we should try to find it to, put a clip in here. But the man hosted Saturday Night Live.
Hold on, did you say he was in The Heat of the Night?
Yeah, he was in The Heat of the Night. I'm looking at the filmography right now. He was Councilman Lawrence Steele in the TV episode Walkout. So he was in the TV version of The Heat of the Night. He was actually in the movie Roots, like the original Roots.
Do you remember the show In the Heat of the Night? It was a killer show, man.
Archie Bunker was the fucking cop.
Yeah.
Oh God, now I want to watch that episode. Archie Bunker and OJ in the same episode. Imagine that would get you canceled today. But dude, just imagine in 1978, OJ Simpson hosted Saturday Night Live.
Who was on Saturday Night Live in 1978? Was Chevy Chase and all those guys still on it? And then,
yeah.
Wow.
You're talking, I think it was only 3 years into it. So you got the original cast. I think you still got Belushi, you got Bill Murray, you got Aykroyd. I mean, you got everyone. And OJ's hosting it. I mean, we got to try to find some video clips or images of that. I don't know if we're going to be able to because I'm sure it's been deleted off the internet. But the man was a cultural superstar before these murders happened. He was the NFL sideline reporter for the NFL on NBC, which they used to have all the AFC games. We've already mentioned he was in commercials. I mean, the guy was, like an American darling. He was, I wouldn't say he's Tom Hanks, but I would say he's somebody. It's hard to compare him to somebody now because there really isn't anyone that's like him.
Sort of like Denzel.
No, I think it's a
Denzel.
little bit.
Jamie Foxx. People like that.
Dude, do you know who he was? He was Kevin Hart.
He was basically Puff Daddy.
No, he didn't have an island like Epstein's Island, and did a bunch of bad things. And as soon as that hit the news, and magically everything disappeared. Boy, I don't want to get this too off track here, but what the fuck's going on with that? Puff Daddy, ran from the country, got on a plane. The feds went into his house, seized everything, and now there's been nothing in the news for the last 3 weeks.
Crazy, eh? It's just nuts how that whole story just fell off the face of the earth very quickly.
And you don't have a full raid on the FBI, unless if you're Trump or, but for them to go raid his house and he fled the country. I mean, it's not like, he was there like, oh, I didn't do nothing. The man got on a plane and fled the country.
No, I think he tried to, but they didn't let him. But
no, he did, dude.
I don't think he did. He was trying to, but he got stopped at the airport. But his plane took off and went to somewhere like Puerto Rico or something. And and took a load of his computer system, or computer disks or something on the plane. That's what they were saying. But I think he's just like Epstein, but he's like compromising like people like Steve. What's that guy called? Steve Harvey. Anyway, yeah,
like the Family Feud guy.
Hey, don't you talk about Steve Harvey in a negative way, you bastard.
Yeah, he was in one of Diddy's freak-offs parties. There's pictures of him.
Oh, God.
He's basically got everybody for politicians. He's worse than Epstein because he's got politicians and all these entertainers.
Dude, I'll tell you right now, if Steve Harvey's caught up in some shit, I'm going to be fucking devastated.
There's definitely a picture they were showing the other day, like, is it Cat Williams or 50 Cent was showing these pictures of...
50 Cent, he's going mental over this.
Yeah, Steve Harvey. Steve Harvey pictures in a sort of freak-off. After everybody goes home, another party starts. So everybody gets puts sort of pills in the champagne. Did you hear that Meek Mill Diddy tape? It's like the most shocking thing I've ever heard. You ever hear that?
No, tell me about it, bro.
Oh, I don't think I really want to. It's basically Diddy Diddy would have these freak-off parties where he'd hire male prostitutes to come in to the party, and then he'd drug everybody, so everybody'd pass out. This is what the security guard was saying. Everybody in the party would pass out, and then Puff Daddy's grooming all these people like Bieber and Usher, and Meek Mill was another one. And he compromises them by butt fucking them in a room. So they have this audio of Meek Mill getting butt fucked with the balls are slapping against the ass, and Meek Mill is going no, he's basically scream coming. On this tape.
You told me it's
no, it's the most disturbing thing I've ever heard. I heard it a few times. Go on YouTube and listen to it. It's scary stuff.
Dude, you tell me the Puff Daddy gets Justin Bieber and Usher, gets them he dopes them out, he pulls them, they fall asleep, and then he has male prostitutes ass rape them on video. Jesus Christ.
Well, no, that's what he was doing to Cassie, his girlfriend. They get in a room and they go for 3 or 3 or 4 days, and he's basically hiring two or three male prostitutes to fuck his wife while he watches, and it goes on for days. That's why she got the $35 million payout, the civil suit. It's abuse, and he basically bribes them with the footage that he's got of them. Plus, he's the first person who invented the idea that he was saying, he doesn't want anybody, his artist, to have any talent. He wants no talent in his artists, and then he makes them into stars. Because Biggie was about to leave, wasn't he? After the Commission album, Biggie was going to leave, and that's probably why Puff Daddy killed him.
Wait a second, Puff Daddy killed Biggie?
Oh, yeah, because Diddy was about to start his own label and leave, and then from that point on, Diddy or Puff Daddy knew his when he used to do these team meetings, he used to say, we're looking for people with no talent that we can basically compromise and turn into stars, and then you have full control over them. And that's why Mace quit, because Mace only made $250,000 out of being a big star on Bad Boy Records.
Wait, so I just want to confirm something real quick, because maybe I got confused on what you said, and if I do, I want to redact and correct it. But were you inferring that like Usher and Justin Bieber would come to these parties and they'd get drugged, right? Is that, you're saying that? Yes.
No. There's like two different sort of things. One is that they basically groom the younger stars, or they just get everybody in compromising positions. Like the Meek Mill like sex tape with Diddy is basically like a bribe to like, so he's got control of the artist. But he's basically groomed like Bieber and Usher. But now there seems to be details of it. Puff Daddy was like sort of selling Bieber or Usher to other artists or other people. So he was using them.
But selling them to other artists and people, are you inferring that like these dudes would be like doing gay stuff to them? Is what? Because if not, I want to redact.
There's a whole like sort of gay mafia. Even Jay-Z. Beyonce is about to divorce Jay-Z because Jay-Z is also maybe another. They say that Jay-Z is worse than Puff Daddy.
So you're saying these artists are getting, they're getting drugged by Puff Daddy, maybe Jay-Z. This is what you're hearing and what other rappers have said, and that male prostitutes are engaging in sexual acts with these people, or is it just females? Is it male or females?
In some cases, they're just like it's everybody. It's everybody. In some cases, they're just so that they go to sleep. So then he can get one of them on their own in the room, in the sort of freak-off room. But that's what the security guards are saying. That everybody is getting drugged at these parties. So, and in some cases, people would like pass out, apart from Puffy and whoever he was interested in. But that's only one example. The freak-off parties were well known.
Chris, am I not like? I'm confused. Am I not hearing it right? Because to me, it sounds like, not from Wasted, but Wasted saying that he's heard interviews on YouTube and other rappers coming out saying that like people like Usher and Bieber are getting drugged and then they're getting like butt fucked by like male prostitutes. Am I confused in my hearing this? Because I don't want to be spreading shit that's false.
No, I have also heard these rumors. I don't think I've. So go ahead, Wasted.
No, it's definitely a possibility, but it seems like everything is going on at these parties. But he's basically bribing his artists and kind of grooming the younger ones, like Bieber.
I've heard all this before. Yeah, this at least for me, this is not new information. I don't think I've delved as deep into it as Wasted has. I just touched on the surface, but this isn't surprising to me. No,
it's wild.
Can you give me a brief summary of what you know? Because this is the first time I'm hearing it. The only thing I knew was that the feds were at his house. There's some shitty shit going on. That he gave all the publishing rights back to the artist, and he fled the country. That's all I know. So anything else I'm hearing now is secondhand. So I'm not trying to slander anybody. It's not my intention. I'm just going with the information I hear. Chris, can you enlighten me a little bit more? I know Wasted told me some, but hearing it from more than one source is always a good thing.
I've heard that Jay-Z is just as bad or worse than anything that Diddy did. That something about Beyonce too, and about their marriage is not up to snuff. Let's see, the whole grooming stuff, especially with Usher being groomed, probably 6 weeks before all this P. Diddy stuff came out. And yeah, Diddy would make sure that Usher, don't forget, Usher was just a kid, right? Same with Bieber. So I don't know much about the Bieber accusations, but what I heard was Usher, but he was just a kid when Diddy found him. And he was bringing them to these drug parties, basically, where people were getting drugged, and Usher was thrown into this world of just pedophilia and rape and Hollywood elite bullshit, man. All the stuff that you hear about the Hollywood elites is he was just thrown into it at a very young age, and he's made his money from Diddy because of it. But it's very sad when you hear about it, because these guys in Hollywood they're just, if this stuff is true, and there's examples in the past, i.e. Weinstein, to back it up, And what's his face there? The guy that got hanged that's not dead.
Epstein.
Epstein.
A lot of Steens.
Yeah. And then even that. Do you remember that story of the tunnels underneath New York City with the Jewish synagogues and stuff? Like there was some traction there about human trafficking and connections with the Hollywood elite and stuff.
Jesus Christ.
It's very sad.
Folks, I want to make it clear. That here on SHEEEIT Radio, we're not condoning. We're just saying what we've heard. We don't know this as fact. We're not trying to slander anybody. We're not trying to spread rumors. This is just what we've seen on Twitter and what we've heard in interviews on YouTube, etc. So we're not accusing anyone of guilt. We don't know of their guilt. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty. But Jesus fucking Christ. I mean, we're trying to talk OJ here, and now we just took a turn that way. I'm trying to recover from here.
You have to also, the story with Puff Daddy is that basically he was, he joined, I think it's Uptown Records as an intern. And basically Clive Davis was running that kind of label. And Puff Daddy became like Clive Davis's like boyfriend. And Clive Davis kind of groomed Diddy. So that's where Diddy got his like business plan from. That basically, you're the sort of star maker. Like Clive Davis was the star maker, and whoever was his boyfriend, he funded their record label. And then Diddy got some money, went out on his own, started his own record company, Bad Boy, and then did the same to other artists. So it's like a chain. But Clive Davis is the one who like started it. And the main thing is that all of Diddy's mansions are all rigged with cameras and stuff. So he's basically been compromising everybody. And then he just got wilder and wilder because he's kind of bribed everybody. So he was basically just being really terrible. And that's why 50 Cent doesn't like him. Like 50 Cent called him a fruit pop. So, he's basically been compromising everybody. And then he just got worse. Like on like his wife's birthday, Cassie, they went to a restaurant and he like ordered 17 like male prostitutes to come to the restaurant, and she had to pick 3 that she was going to like have one of these freak-off parties with him. So for the next 3 days, Cassie's his wife.
His wife, sorry, okay.
And then his other wife, Kim Porter, she died. Everybody that worked with Diddy on Uptown Records has suspiciously died. So there's only one of them. There are like 5 of them, and they're all dead, and the Biggie's dead. Puffy shot somebody in the face, didn't he, in a club? And he got off, and he sent his protege, basically an Usher type or rapper, one of his artists, did the time for him. So all this stuff seems to have been covered up for years and years and years. But I think they just realized that he's got too much compromising stuff on these sex tapes. Like he's got everybody. If he's got Steve Harvey, then he's got everybody. Plus politicians.
That hurts to hear about Steve Harvey, man. That really does.
So Prince Harry was also pictured. So he's probably got, compromising. They ripped out in every single room. There was like a hard drive that they ripped out of the wall in the raids.
I don't know what to say, dude. Like I just knew that the dude, like the feds raided him, and he fled the country. And everything else now I'm hearing is shocking, disturbing, and I pray to God it's not true. But if it is,
he tried to.
Let the nukes fly, boys, because this world's gone to shit. Holy moly!
Yeah, it's crazy because I just never really thought of Puff Daddy as being like the music is pretty like commercial, isn't it? It's not like gangster rap, really. It's not really, but he seems to be the worst, like ever. Like he's worse than Epstein.
Well, I don't know how we're gonna
like. Puff Daddy's into like rough trade, What he likes to do is to like shag other men who are straight. That's his ultimate goal. I don't know how he's going to stay out of prison.
Well, if he goes to prison, there's going to be a lot of other men that he can shag. It might not be the worst thing for him.
Yeah, they say that he will kill himself before he goes to jail. But they've also got his son, though.
I'm right now, like, seriously, we're ready to do an OJ Simpson show spectacular. We're talking OJ, and then we take a little bit of a turn on Puff Daddy, and the only thing now I'm hearing is just like really, really disturbing shit. Like, holy moly, if any of this is true, wow. Like, once again, I'm going to make a statement so that we cover our asses here. We don't know anything. We're just saying, we're talking about what we're hearing. We're just sitting together. We're all friends here. Our listeners, we're just talking about what we're hearing. Everyone's innocent until proven guilty, but that's some deep, dark shit.
I'm just repeating what Cat Williams and 50 Cent and Gene Deal also. He's the actual one that's... Gene Deal was his security guard who witnessed a lot of things. There's human trafficking as well involved in it. That's where it went wrong. There's a 17-year-old girl that like they brought from like LA to New York to the studio, and so she was gang raped by Puffy's like, I don't know, entourage. So that's another case, and that's human trafficking. That's what Epstein got done for in the end. When you get some like you get somebody to travel, you pay for them to travel across state lines. It's like human trafficking.
Well, what I want to know, because I mean, the more you talk, Waste, the darker and deeper the shit, and like it's just getting really, really, really fucked up. What I want to know is what the hell happened to the story. Like right before the Iran-Israel shit, this was like the breaking thing. Like, hey, you know, Puff Daddy's got the feds raiding him, and now it's completely disappeared. Like, I'll look at Google real quick and Google News, and I don't think I'm going to see anything.
No, everything sort of happened, hasn't it? The moves have been made, and then the next thing is for people to start getting arrested.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at Google News right now. I know this is not exactly the pinnacle of news. It's not like fucking Walter Cronkite here, but it'll tell me if there's any recent stories. I'm going to hit news. The only thing I see is a lot of things of what Waste is saying is coming up, but there's really, you know...
Nothing's happened in terms of an arrest. And they think maybe he won't get arrested, because a lot of it is stories from people like 50. But once they've got, maybe they just want all the tapes, you know, from the mansions. They're worried. That was the main thing, is to get those tapes, because he's got so many people.
Well, maybe we're dealing with another situation here, like we dealt with in the 90s with OJ, where this is going to be a major media thing. We don't know, but I'm going to try to transition us away from the Puff Daddy talk, because right now we don't know anything. Nothing's been officially reported in any court documents or any arrest or anything like that. So everything we're hearing is hearsay. Once again, we're just saying what we're hearing, and it's hearsay, and that's all we know. But back onto OJ here, because this Diddy thing does have potential to be like the OJ Simpson case, which, gentlemen, I wanted you to tell us, you know, we had an AMA from Mr. Megatron here, and when he asked us a question earlier, it was a pretty damn good question. So he was asking us where we were and what we were doing when the OJ Simpson chase happened. And
Oh, nice.
yeah, I'll go first, and I'll let you guys think about what you were doing. I was 10 years old at the time. I was a little kid. I was going back and forth between WWF's King of the Ring, which was airing, and they had the Knicks, and I want to say it was the Rockets in the NBA Finals. And I was watching that, and then everything except the WWF pay-per-view, you know, it cut out. So where were you guys?
I don't remember where I was for the chase. I don't think I was in school. I might have been working.
Probably I think it was the 90s, wasn't it?
It was 1994.
94. Oh yeah, I would be like totally blacked out. I don't think I even had a TV at that time. Probably at college.
I do remember where I was when the verdict came in, though. I was working. I was a waiter at a bar, or a restaurant, I should say, and everybody in the restaurant went into the bar to see the verdict, because somebody said that they're going to be reading the verdict shortly here. So everybody that was in the restaurant got up and went into the bar, and when they said not guilty, I was the only one that cheered. And
okay, two things, Chris. I got to ask you two things on that statement. One, When you were a waiter back in 1994, did you know if a lady left her sunglasses, never to bring it to her house? Did you know that?
No.
Okay, good. Because, or no, that's bad. You should know that. That should have been a rule. That if a lady leaves her sunglasses, you never bring it to her house. Because Ron Goldman brought the sunglasses back to Nicole and saw what happened there. Number two,
Right.
you said you got and cheered when he said not guilty. So why was that?
I was buying into the whole that America was prosecuting a black man unjustly, and I was all behind that, and the racist Ron Furman, and if the glove don't fit, you must acquit, and Johnny Cochran, and F. Lee Bailey, all those guys. I was like Robert Shapiro. I was all of them. I just got caught up in all of it, and I never bought into the fact that he was guilty. I always gave him the benefit of the doubt. And
let me ask you this, because Randy's asking a question that's kind of related to that. And
Sure.
I'm sorry, it used to be Randy Leahy. He changed his name to Megatron. We still love him. So Megatron asked, do you think OJ would have been convicted if he committed the murder in another city or state? Rapp and Rodney King had preconditioned us to distrust the LAPD, which is a really good question to ask. Like, hey, if this wasn't in LA, this wasn't in a place that just had the Rodney King and the LA riots and the racism that run rampant in the LAPD, do you think OJ would have been convicted?
No. If it happened in a different city, you wouldn't have had the LAPD. You wouldn't have had the racist cop. You wouldn't have had the tampering of the evidence. You wouldn't have had the one cop who insisted on getting the vial of blood. All these things wouldn't have happened. And I think a lot at the time, you have to remember, like DNA testing was in its infancy at the time, and people didn't take it seriously. They didn't understand it, and they didn't know what it was. So even if they had DNA testing, it wouldn't have. It didn't hold any clout in court, and a lot of the evidence that they had against him was circumstantial.
Wasted. Sorry, Chris, you got more to say?
Go ahead, Wasted. Go ahead.
Wasted. What do you think on that statement?
I think the reason that they say that he wasn't proven innocent and he was proven not guilty, and that it was the prosecution team just bungled it because basically they used evidence that had been tampered with. That was a problem. The blood in the test tube that was like mixed with some chemical that test tubes had. So Van Adder and Mark Furlong, they were part of some kind of fixing, kind of framing division of the LAPD. So it was the prosecution that dropped the case, and also, is it Priscilla Clark? She insisted on going.
You
with
mean Marsha
gender.
Clark?
Marsha Clark, yeah. She went with gender over race when she picked the jury. So she picked women, black women, thinking that they would hate OJ. But black women, and then if she'd have gone with race and picked white people, they would have probably, they would have convicted him. So they messed up.
My take on this is I believe he would have been convicted if it wasn't under the circumstances, one, where they put the trial, because they put the trial in a urban district, which is going to have more minorities. If they would have put it in actually the area where the murders were committed, that it would have been easily, he would have been convicted. Number two, I think that the police, because Mark Furman is a racist and, he's proven racist and he was a dumbass, I think the police get overshadowed about the work they did, because one of the original detectives on the case is Detective Tom Lang. And if you guys know anything about true crime or anything about the history of the LAPD, Tom Lang is a really good detective. He was on the Hillside Strangler back in the day. And,
that's right.
He was very, very competent. And Van Adder, too, was very competent. Now, they brought home evidence in a bag, which was stupid as shit. I don't know why they did that, but I also don't think Tom Lang and Detective Van Adder were anywhere there to frame OJ Simpson. I think Tom Lang was an excellent detective and knew what he was doing, and the evidence was there that OJ did this. I mean, I think race played the major thing in it. I think the location of the trial, the jury, everything played a fact into it, and then the incompetency of the prosecution. I mean, if you had a real prosecutor in there, like the original prosecuting team wasn't supposed to be Marsha Clark and Darwin. It was supposed to be Marsha Clark with a seasoned district attorney. But that district attorney was having heart issues, so they had to replace him with Darwin, I believe. Not Charles Darwin.
Charles Darwin. What's his name? Johnny, no, not Johnny Cochran.
You racist bastard. What, are they all the same to you? Fucking
no.
No.
What was his name? Darden, wasn't it?
Yeah, let me find it real quick here. But the prosecution was so incompetent, and they fed into a defense team that was the dream team. I mean, he had the best defense lawyers you could possibly find. Johnny Cochran was a magician. He would go up there and he would talk in, words. He would lead you to want to believe what he was saying. It was all theater of the mind for Johnny Cochran. The jurors just bought into everything he said. When the prosecution talked, this is actually from Tom Lang. He said this. The prosecution would talk. The jury wouldn't write anything down. But as soon as Johnny Cochran got up there and started telling stories, the jury would break out their notepads, and boy, God almighty, they would start writing down notes and taking notes. I mean, the prosecution bungled this whole thing. So to answer Randy's question, I truly believe that if this was in another state, another district, even in LA, in another part, another district of where they hold the court, I believe he would have been charged. I believe the prosecutor was weak. I believe that the situation with Marsha Clark being just a fame whore and being incompetent played into it. Mark Furman being a racist and then being able to exploit the racist thing with what just happened with Rodney King and what happened with the riots really played into the fact of why OJ got convicted. I think that's the main reason, or not convicted, why he was innocent. I think anywhere else he would have been convicted.
Also, they interviewed one of the jury members, like a black woman, after the trial, and she said that like 90% of the jury would have, acquitted OJ no matter what happened, as a sort of revenge. And when she said 90%, there's only 10 people on the jury, so she was basically saying that 9 out of 10 of the jury were black, and they were definitely going to acquit OJ even if they thought he was guilty, just because they liked OJ.
Well, you got to imagine he was an icon for that. And by the way, the attorney that was with Marsha Clark was Christopher Darden. So I wasn't too off when I said Charles, but it's Christopher Darden who was the replacement attorney. Wasted, where were you when you heard the verdict?
I think I was just in the UK, like in living in like a top floor apartment. Yeah, I remember. I wasn't watching it on my TV. It was like a roommate or somebody had a TV. I remember watching. You
guys are going to be shocked by this. I was in public school. This would have been 94. No, this was 95. So I was in 5th grade. And in my public school, they actually turned on the TVs. Remember those old TVs on the cart? So in my public school, I was in class, and they actually rolled in one of the TVs and turned on the television. So everyone in class, we got to hear the verdict. That's how big of an event it was in America. To find out if he was guilty or not. In my public school in 5th grade, they brought it in there so a bunch of 5th graders could find out if OJ Simpson was guilty or not. That's a major moment in the history.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that seems to be too much of the media attention and with the riots, they were trying to avoid the riots. It seems like the fact that they put it on TV, it had to be the right decision, didn't it? You can't broadcast it, It seems like it's the opposite of, or different to George Floyd. Like Derek Chauvin went to jail basically because of Black Lives Matter. It's I think they didn't want to have like any riots, so they had to basically.
I'm going to disagree with that, Wasted. He used overforce. I mean, the guy. Well, listen, George Floyd, in my personal opinion, was a fucking scumbag. He had a long history of rap sheet. He was drugged out of his mind that day. He had enough drugs in his system to kill him no matter what. But the guy who put his knee on his neck, dude, he had his knee on his neck for a long period of time. It was constricting his airways. The cop used way too much force, and he definitely should have been charged with manslaughter. I have no issue with that. But
there's more. There's more
George Floyd,
because George Floyd, he was resisting arrest when he was put in the car. He didn't want to stay in the car. He asked to be put on the floor. Because when he was inside the car, he was saying that he was basically saying, I'm going to have a heart attack in the car. I can't breathe. You need to put me on the floor outside. Yeah, but he did maybe put his knee on his neck too long. But George Floyd had a heart attack like 2 weeks before, and he was like on piles of like fentanyl or something. And
dude.
They found that he was about to die anyway, whether you put your knee on his neck or not. But anyway, they had to. I think they had to find him guilty. In fact, I think it wasn't reported. It was the way the case or the incident was reported meant that the media, if they reported it another way, the media wouldn't even know that it actually happened. He would have just been taken to hospital or something. If I remember correct.
My point is this, and I agree with you completely. The guy was going to die no matter what because of all the shit he was on, and he was doing criminal shit. He was acting crazy. He was a career criminal. He's not a fucking saint by any means. But what I think got him caught, and what the issue was that fucking Kavanaugh was, or I think that's the detective's name or the police officer's name. Chauvin. He was putting the knee on his neck. So this guy's having a medical crisis, which isn't the police's fault. It's not, they didn't cause it. But the fact that he put the knee on the neck, and he had the knee on the neck for such a long time, when he's saying he can't breathe, that's constricting the airway. So I totally get why that guy was guilty. And I know it's not a popular opinion. I'm not going to say George Floyd is a saint, because he wasn't. He was a scumbag. But at the same time, you can't have your knee...
Yeah, but if I remember correctly, pretty sure that the doctor or the medical examiner said that he didn't die from constricting the airway. He died from the drugs he was on.
Oh, that's true. I agree with that completely.
Kind of. But yeah, I'm saying in the context of Black Lives Matter and the fact that it's on TV, it just looks really bad. And they couldn't.
I think that was I think that was kind of the makeup for the OJ thing, because they got OJ later on for fucking t-shirts. And he served prison time for taking back his own property.
But you remember, in the weeks after that, when they were trying to work out whether that was standard procedure, and they worked out basically putting the knee on the neck was something that was like habitual, that it was actually being trained in the police training camps. And then there was like a load of other videos with cops doing it. Almost like a few days after, there was another video of a cop restraining somebody with his. So yeah, I think Chauvin. Yeah, but Chauvin had like a personal relationship with George Floyd. They'd worked together or something, and they didn't like each other. Yeah, but it's all totally stupid, because he was arrested for forging a $20 note or something, trying to hand over a fake $20 bill. Who cares? You know what I mean? Does he really be arrested for that?
But no, wasted. It was because he, what he was doing. If you look at the video where he's at the store, dude, he's all freaking out and stealing shit and acting like a maniac. It's not something like you randomly the cops pulled up and this guy was being a reasonable person and, was trying to explain a situation. He was high off his balls. But the next question, I guess, is also from Megatron, because we got two more from him and then we'll be gone. We'll get on to another question here. He posted a clip from Ghost, where it's Whoopi Goldberg saying, "You in danger." So he wrote, "When you see a black man with a white woman, do you think of Whoopi Goldberg's quote from the movie Ghost because of OJ?" My answer would be no. I see a lot of interracial couples, and it's kind of the norm now, and I get the joke, but no. You guys?
Nah.
I don't know that. I don't think I've seen that movie.
Good for you, buddy. You haven't seen Ghost. I'm proud of you. Yeah.
Is that Patrick Swayze? No, I haven't seen that.
Patrick Swayze and
is that where he's modeling? I've seen a spoof. It's maybe been in spoof movies, like National Lampoons or something. Isn't there where he's fondling some woman's breast?
I don't know.
Wasted. I got one more question for you, buddy. This one's directed for you. This one's for Wasted. Which is more iconic moment in the 90s? The 90s McDonald's history, OJ and the Kato Kalin trip to McDonald's drive-thru on the night of the murders, or Vincent Vega's Royal with cheese speech from Pulp Fiction. Menace to Society might have been the black horse or outright winner in this category if they have gotten the rights to use McDonald's in their movie. They had two iconic cheeseburger moments in that movie.
Yeah, I sure did. For me, it's like the Pulp Fiction, Vincent Vega McDonald's speech, really, isn't it? Because I think that's more mainstream than Menace to Society. The other McDonald's ones I remember is the Eddie Murphy Raw, you know, the I Got McDonald's part from his stand-up, Eddie Murphy Raw, where he's talking about his mum making homemade burgers and nobody liked them, and then he always wanted to get McDonald's. And then didn't ODB, Old Dirty Bastard, in 2000, I think, October 2000, didn't he get arrested in McDonald's car park? I always remember that McDonald's reference. So,
I think it's really forgotten that the night of the. I don't think I read all this correctly, so my apologies. But the fact that OJ and Kato Kaelin's trip to McDonald's drive-thru on the night of the murders. I mean, they went to the fucking drive-thru at McDonald's the night that the murders occurred. Him and Kato. So, I mean, that's, you know, I mean, I wouldn't say it's great advertising for McDonald's, but I mean, that sure, you know, is memorable.
Yeah. It also shows how relaxed they were about whatever was happening.
Kato was probably high as a fucking kite. All right, we got one more question to go before we start talking other more OJ here. We got a question from Void Locos. Mr. Locos writes, have you seen OJ's You've Been Juiced prank movie? It's one of the weirdest and craziest things I've ever seen. You can make endless murder jokes. Have you guys seen that movie?
No.
No. Is that
Neither of us.
Is that the one where he knocks on the door of the reporter girl? And when she opens the door, he's brandishing a knife and slashing it like in the Psycho style.
I haven't seen the movie. There's a possibility you're describing it perfectly, but I have not seen that film.
Or I don't think I have either. I didn't even know there was a prank movie. You've Been Juiced. I'm going to look this up. This is intriguing to me.
Yeah, we'll look that up. And Wasted, we were talking about Kato Kaelin. I know that in our messages here that you know that Kato was a big part of the OJ trial here. So what are your thoughts with the whole Kato Kaelin? Didn't you have a story about Kato Kaelin?
I think I had more of a story about the Hollywood script about you know, in the Juice, in the If I Did It book. He talks about the you know, an accomplice being Charlie. In the If I Did It book, that he mentions that because he couldn't have done it alone. And then there was this sort of I think around 2016 there was a sort of a script going around Hollywood, which Charlie Ehrlich was working with the writer, who was like a whistleblower. So and he was basically saying that it was Charlie Ehrlich, who is like basically a cocaine trafficker connected to Joey Ippolito or Joey Ip. So that script and that storyline kind of connects OJ to kind of organized crime, and that basically he was helping with the distribution of coke to all those like rich Hollywood stars. So it was Charlie Ehrlich that was basically using OJ, and that maybe, I mean, he actually did some jail time, I think, for the memorabilia robbery. He was with OJ on that night as well, when OJ got like 27 years, but he only did 9. But there's a theory going around that Charlie Ehrlich is the accomplice on that night with OJ, and he's the one who had the knife, and that maybe OJ took the knife from him. And I think OJ originally had the knife, but then Charlie took it off him, saying, "You look like a psycho. You know, you got like a ski mask on and gloves and a hat or something, and you got this knife." So it was Charlie who had the knife. And I think was it you say Keto? That guy, is he the most famous house guest in the world or something?
Oh yeah, dude.
Like, he was the one who was just like looking after that. Like, he was living in the mansion, was helping with the kids and stuff.
Yeah, he lived in like the beach house or like the pool house, like right out like on the property. There was like a little like extra little like pool house, little property there that had like a bedroom, bathroom, living room, etc., kitchen. And Kato Kaelin lived there for years.
And he basically became really famous off the OJ case. Like, that's what he seemed to be. All his quotes are about. He's the most sort of hated or and the most famous for sort of doing nothing. Which kind of reminds me of like,
what I was going to say, Wasted, is you're mentioning the Charlie Ehrlich guy. It's kind of odd that the fact that OJ, you know, in his book, If I Did It, which is hilariously titled, #1, and how he describes the murders is very, very accurate to how the murders actually occurred. And the fact that the guy's name is Charlie Ehrlich, it's kind of odd that he named the guy in the book Charlie. I'm just saying, like, you bringing that up is kind of something I've never heard before. And it's like, I'm thinking about it going,
I think
because, you know,
the difference.
So, what, I mean, do you think it's possible that he actually was a second accomplice?
I mean, yeah, I guess so. Because he took part in that robbery later. He was basically hanging out with OJ all the time. I mean, it's. I think there was two differences between the two. The script, which was by a whistleblower who was like anonymous, and then the book. And in the book, it seems to be saying that Charlie Ehrlich comes and tells him about Nicole Brown Simpson and it's either the Ron Goldman or her girlfriend Resnick, that they were down in Mexico or Cabo partying or something, and that's what got OJ really wound up and like in a rage, and that's why they went to Bundy, the house, to confront her. But in the script, it says that it's about cocaine debts tied to organized crime. So, you know, Charlie Ehrlich came to OJ and said, you know, your wife or ex-wife, Nicole, and her girlfriend, Faye Resnick, they owe us all this money for coke, and that's what they said. And then OJ's saying, like, well, we need to go around there and confront them. You know, but I don't know how. Maybe was it Jason Simpson? There's that part of it. Maybe OJ and Charlie went there and were trying to clear up what Jason Simpson did. If you're like tying the two like theories together, that maybe because I'm sure in one of them, OJ says he gives Charlie Ehrlich the knife and the T-shirt covered in blood and tells him to get rid of them. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this, and Chris, I'll ask you this too. Can you guys explain a little bit more about Jason Simpson, or do you guys want me to take the lead on that?
Well, Jason Simpson is OJ's son, and there was rumors that OJ took the fall for him because it was actually Jason Simpson that committed the murders. There's some evidence that points to it. There's some definite evidence that points to it. He was diagnosed with intermittent rage disorder, and apparently during the time of the murders, I guess he had gotten into a fight with Nicole Brown Simpson that night and was apparently, admittedly, off his meds. And there was some photos that were found later on of his son with a knife that looked suspiciously like the one that could have committed the murders. And I thought that apparently Jason was wearing in one of these pictures too was very similar to one of the hats that was found at the murder scene. And for whatever reason, they don't want to do any testing on this hat or the knife for whatever reason for DNA to put this case to rest. So it remains just a conspiracy right now. That's what I know. Wasted, what do you know?
As I remember, I think on the night of the murder, Nicole Brown was supposed to go to Jason Simpson's restaurant for a meal with some friends or something. They'd organized it, but she didn't. And I think from the journals that he had and kept, he seemed to have like some kind of abandonment issues with OJ, and like they basically sent him to military college so that they could basically do cocaine and like fuck other people. So because isn't Jason Simpson from OJ's first marriage, and that broke up, and then he was hopeful that the second marriage with Nicole would be like better, and that he'd be able to spend more time with OJ. There's some story about him attacking statue of OJ that's in the garden with a baseball bat one night, because basically OJ was always going away somewhere else, or he's always doing coke, or he was always like with Nicole, or he didn't pay enough attention to Jason Simpson. So that's all throughout his diaries and stuff, and he's always talking about knives and things. The other detail is when he got sacked from the restaurant, he attacked there was a sort of an assault where he attacked the manager or owner of that restaurant. Right. So he had a history of violence. But I think on the actual night, he may have been just so angry that she didn't turn up. Because I remember a quote from when he was at military college. He was talking to her on the phone from military college, and then after the call, he started hitting the phone against the wall and saying, "I hate that white bitch." So he had some kind of hatred towards her.
And he also punched out early that night too. Like if you look at this time card, because he was working at a restaurant and they were supposed to go meet out for dinner, and then he punched out. And the time frame of when he would have been, the murders happened and where Jason Simpson was, he had the time to commit these murders. He was a big fella, like you guys said. He's OJ Simpson's son. He's already had issues with Nicole in the past because he wanted to live with OJ and that wasn't really working out. And he was offended about what happened at the dinner that night, which you guys can go more into if you want. She missed the dinner and he was very, very upset. They were supposed to go to dinner at the restaurant that he was working at. And the fact that she didn't show up, that could have enraged him. And the theory is that he went out and committed the murders and that his father literally was, chasing him down and, found his son to just kill two people and try to clean up the mess. And that's what took so long. And that, either they had the murder weapon that Jason had, or OJ got rid of the murder weapon, which is the popular theory in Chicago when he took the plane. Because, immediately after the murders here, OJ, was late for his limo that went to go pick him up at his house. Kato Kalin said he heard a loud noise, like someone jumping over the gate, 15 minutes before the limo was supposed to show up. And OJ himself was late for the limo. So then he gets in the limo. He gets on a plane from LA to Chicago. He's in Chicago for a day. He's got a big old cut on his hand that he said it was because he broke glass. But if you look at the cut on his hand, that kind of looks like he was involved in a fight. It looks like someone was trying to, self-defense because the Goldman, and I don't want to say Ron Goldman because that's the father. What's the son's name? The guy.
Yeah, Ron Goldman's the son. Yeah.
So, but also Ron Goldman was also, he was very well trained in martial arts. Like this guy could defend himself. And here's the deal: OJ, everyone looks at OJ like, oh, he's this big dude. But you got to imagine OJ was at his mid 40s, late 40s at the time. His knees were blown out from being a running back. He was definitely wasted. Said earlier that he believes he had CTE in one of our chats and messages, that he was suffering from concussion syndrome. So, I mean, this isn't really seeming like a guy that's going to be able to stand up against a guy who's the same size as him, trained martial artist. I mean, it kind of explains why OJ would have those wounds on there and why it'd be so violent. I mean, it also kind of seems that there might have been two people. I'm not sure about that, but you said earlier, Chris, that you think OJ is innocent. Do you really believe that?
I always have. I just do. I'm going through the notes here too of the show and getting back to OJ's son. There was an author going by the name of William Deere, and from his diaries obtained by Deere, there's a letter to Jason Simpson, and it's not handwritten, it's typed out, and it says, "Dear Jason, there are 3 of us here that I know about, question mark, question mark, question mark. I want solace, work with solace was a question mark, question mark, question mark. Now I'm a failure, I cannot do anything right, I cannot learn from it all, I cannot remember. Alcohol is the root of all my shortcomings, I know I'm a good guy." It's an odd letter to be found.
Yeah, and I'm not buying the conspiracy theory. I know you and Wasted might be, and I can see possibly Jason being involved, but I can also see that OJ, even though I brought up that he was older, he had concussions, his knees were blown out, he was in his mid-40s at the time, I can also see him just being in a blind rage, catching them off guard, because I'm sure they had a few drinks in them. I'm sure they were probably high, maybe on some drugs. I can see him in a blind rage, just go in there and start stabbing and get just kill these 2 people. I can see that happening. And the question I have for you guys is, to believe that OJ is innocent, you have to believe that there was a mass conspiracy to point all that evidence. I mean, dude, the evidence was fucking overwhelming. You know, even the glove that didn't fit. If the glove don't fit, you must have quit. Well, everyone forgets to mention that OJ suffered severe arthritis in his hands. And guess what? He didn't take for days beforehand. Before he put the gloves on, he didn't take any of his arthritis pills, so his hands were swollen anyways. Number one. Number two, there was blood fucking everywhere. There was blood in the Bronco. There was blood in the house. He had a cut on his hand. He was the person that had the most motive. Everyone, you know, the familiarity with, you know, how he got in there. I just don't see how it couldn't have been OJ. Now, could it have been OJ with this guy Charlie? Could it have been OJ with his son Jason? That's a possibility here. But guys, I don't see any way in hell that OJ Simpson didn't kill them.
What about if during the killing, let's just for a second assume that it's his son. His son was doing the killing. OJ walks in and sees his son doing this. Tries to stop his son. It's too late. The cover-up starts right there. OJ, there. Son, go. Get out of here.
The evidence that points to OJ doing it is that he used to beat Nicole pretty badly.
Yes, he did.
So much so that she used to call the police a lot, you know, and say that he's here, he's going to kill me. Another piece of evidence that I came across was that Nicole's body, the dead body, they found that her breast implants had been cut out, and that's because like OJ paid for them, so he was like cutting them out and taking them back because he was basically trying to control her. He thought that he owned her. Is the actual kind of backstory, plus all the cocaine that he did. Like he even says in his book that he blacked out. Have you seen the story with recently the medical centers want OJ's brain, but the family won't allow them to look at the brain or use the brain for medical purposes? I don't know. It's like part of a cover-up.
Which I find skeptical. I mean, there's no reason for them to say no. I'd like to know the reasoning behind it. Yeah,
I mean, it could be nothing. Maybe you just don't want to give the brain. But it feels like if they look at the brain, they'll find evidence of CTE or whatever, of brain damage. I think he also
one of the things I wanted to point to was, guys, you're overlooking some basic evidence here. Number one, the shoes were identified as Bruno Mali's, correct? Do we all agree on that?
OJ's shoes when he was running back and forth between the bodies.
Okay, so the shoes were identified as Bruno Mali's. They were the exact same shoe size as OJ Simpson. OJ Simpson was seen on TV wearing the exact Bruno Mali's, the exact shoes, exact, size shoes, the exact brand of shoe that the murderer did. He also on TV was wearing the fucking isotonic gloves. I mean, guys, all the stuff that was in the murder, OJ has literally been seen on TV wearing. I mean, that'd be like, your favorite pair of shoes that you're known to wear. Like if you wear a certain brand of shoes or you're known to wear a certain pair of gloves. The coincidence of those being the exact ones, I mean, come on. I don't understand how you guys look over the DNA evidence. I know you're saying it was in its infancy. Sure, it was in its infancy. But it also concluded that, hey, Nicole's blood was in OJ's car. How the fuck did that get there? So you're telling me that Mark Furman's a racist piece of shit, mind you, but you're telling me Mark Furman with a bunch of other cops around him just started randomly placing evidence?
Well, there was some blood missing from the vial, but also the footprints at the scene could have just been OJ at the site cleaning up, going between the bodies. Like he finds the bodies, they've been killed, and he's running around trying to pick them up a little bit or carry them.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean he definitely killed them. It means that he was touching the bodies or he was looking at both. I mean, Ron Goldman was stabbed 30 times or something.
The amount of times Nicole was stabbed is insane.
And she had her virtually decapitated.
Yeah.
That's why I always never believed it was OJ, because I had the image of him from Naked Gun, and I just see his face. It's like a friendly face. I can just never imagine him decapitating these two people. But then you get all the brain damage thing, the coke. That story from Stephen Percy in Stephen Percy's book, he tells about doing coke with OJ, and OJ and him got some coke, and they waited all night to get it. And as soon as OJ got his bag of coke, he went into a room at the hotel or something where they were together, and he locked the door. And then 2 days later, he came out and then just went back to the airport and got on a plane. He never talked to Stephen Percy. Stephen Percy was just in his part of the hotel room doing the coke, and OJ did his whole bag of coke. and he got on a plane, flew. And the next time Stephen Percy saw him was him as a running back for the Denver Broncos on TV, and that was like the day after
Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, Buffalo. He was doing all this coke, and then just going straight to play football on like the Sunday or something. So
but guys, so far, wasted. So far, you're laying out the fact that the man has suffered from severe concussions that, Chris said can induce rage. We've also identified that he has a severe coke problem. We also identified that Nicole and OJ were in an abusive relationship. Now, I think it was one of those relationships, if you hear like some of the interviews and documentaries over the time, where they got off on kind of pissing each other off. Like they loved to fight with each other. OJ would watch her having sex with another man sometimes. I mean, it was, through the window. It was one of those things that it was a real toxic relationship. And I understand what you're saying. There's a possibility that Jason Simpson was actually the real murderer. That's a possibility because the DNA would obviously match the same as OJ's because it's his son. But to neglect the fact that the DNA evidence, the shoes, the gloves, the motive, everything else that piled up on there because the prosecution didn't, address it properly and didn't present it to the jury and chose a wrong jury, chose a wrong location. To say that you guys don't believe that OJ's guilty, then you're saying that someone else did it. And I don't see enough evidence or motive to tell me that someone else did it. I think that's what the general public feels, is that he actually did it and got away with it.
Even Alan Dershowitz said he wasn't found innocent, he was found not guilty. Basically because the prosecution bungled the case. It's just
wasted. Do you think he did it, yes or no?
Works. I think it's more likely that he did it than he didn't.
Okay. And Chris, you still believe that he didn't do it?
The whole situation.
I've always felt that he didn't do it. Yeah.
So who do you think did it?
Well, just by reading today, and I was trying to explain this before, but all that stuff, and like Wasted said, the gloves and the shoes and the footprints just proved that he was there. It didn't prove that he did it. So if his son did it and he walks in on his son doing it, it's too late already. He's like, as a father, you see your son doing this, take the blame.
But hold on a second. I got to ask you a question.
Yeah.
Why would he be there? Like, okay, his son's enraged, all right? This is back in the 90s. There's no cell phones. The only thing you got is beepers. So his son's enraged. He goes over there and confronts them and murders them. Why would OJ Simpson be there at the exact same time? That's a question I have for you.
I think you need two people to actually do it. Like, how do you decapitate two people?
Yeah, that's a good question.
If it's just Jason Simpson, then But it's possible they were all there at the same time for some reason, and then OJ was going to fight Ron Goldman, because Ron Goldman has all these cuts on his fists as if he was involved in a fight with somebody, whereas OJ doesn't seem to have any bruises or many. And the cut on his finger, the medical examiner said was consistent with a glass cut from a wine glass, which is what OJ said it was. So. But yeah, you need two people. That's why the accomplice, and even OJ says there was an accomplice. So maybe
the two people thing, I believe, because what you're saying makes sense. How do you just start stabbing, two people at the same time if there's one person? Because the other person's going to run. You know what I mean? Or is going to defect.
Yeah, I really think it's that Charlie Ehrlich is the guy who cleaned up, got rid of the knife and the T-shirt, and he was there, and maybe he had a weapon and was holding the weapon on somebody. Or there was some other controlling factor at the scene where there was more than one person at least.
Well, let me ask you guys this, because I'm open to the fact that Wasted. I want to ask Chris this, because then I want you to chime in. I'm open to the fact that there was two people. That's something I'm open to. But I want to know why OJ would be there and Jason would be there at the exact same time. Why OJ? If it was OJ and Charlie, this guy Charlie, that makes sense. But if it was OJ and his son Jason, why would they be there at the same time? How would they have communication? Because the time, this would have to be like they'd have to call each other, have it pre-planned. Like, why would they both be there at the exact same time?
Maybe they went together.
Maybe
they went together for whatever reason. I don't know. They went there, and maybe his son went bonkers. Because we already talked about how he was already mad at Nicole that night, and he was already off his meds, and he was Jekyll and Hyde, right? So maybe they went there, and maybe they went there together, and things got out of hand, and that's when OJ said, "You got to get out of here," to save him.
Okay,
from
so let's say
being
things
prosecuted.
get out of hand. There's two people, so it would take two people to kill the other two people. So how would OJ not be involved?
It would be like, what I was thinking is more that Jason kind of was mad about Nicole not turning up to the restaurant. He calls OJ as he's driving back or from the restaurant and tells him she didn't turn up. I'm going to kill the bitch. I'm going to go there now and do it. So then OJ says, "Don't do that. I'm coming." And it takes like 25 minutes to get from the restaurant to the Bundy place where the killings were done. So maybe Jason got there and he was like 2 minutes earlier than OJ. He does the killings. Then OJ turns up trying to stop him or trying to, help, and just comes across all the bodies. And maybe
Well, let me ask.
Jason's there.
Wasted. I understand what you're saying, but I'm once again going back to the point. How does one person stab and kill two people?
Maybe Jason had an accomplice with him.
Okay,
Well,
so now we're adding a mystery accomplice and OJ's there. So now we're up to 3.
No, we're not. We're adding
in one of the accounts of it is that Nicole Brown came out first and he attacked her and cut her throat. That was the first thing he did. So she was out of the way. Then Ron Goldman came out and was going to try and fight him. Maybe OJ was there or not. And then Jason attacked him. And they said that the stab wounds were not by a professional. They were, with someone with rage. And that's why there's so many stabbings. Like he had a knife and Ron Goldman was like some kind of amateur kung fu guy or something. And there was a fight.
Okay,
So
but the amount of
about
stabbings
timing.
wasted and Chris that Nicole had on her shows that they had an incredible amount of rage. So if OJ was there with, let's say, Jason, and OJ saw what was going on, he had to take part in it, because there's no way that, you're just standing there as a guy stabbing a person like 90 fucking times, and then the other person gets stabbed 30 fucking times. I mean, this is a lot of stabbing for someone to do, and the other person is just sitting around not doing anything. Like, this is, okay, he slits her throat, but then we can all say that, he said they cut the breast implants out. I believe she was stabbed somewhere between 70 and 90 times, and we know that the Goldman was stabbed about 30 times. I mean, that's a lot of knife action to be going on just for one person. And the second individual just standing there not doing anything is this person spending, this didn't take 30 seconds. To do all the stabbing is going to take minutes, boys.
There was an eyewitness, wasn't there, that saw Jason Simpson in the Bronco, and there were two black African Americans in the Bronco on the night. There's some eyewitness, some security guard or something said he saw two of them. So that's another thing that puts Jason at the scene. And he did leave.
Chris, what do you think about what I just said?
I'm listening, and I understand your rationale, and I get it. But the fact that we're even having these conversations of ifs, it's a reasonable doubt not to convict a guy. And you can't just... Because we're saying this could happen, this could happen, this could happen, and you're saying this could happen, and this could happen, and this could happen. Nothing is firm, so you can't convict a guy on possibilities.
Yeah, but you can also convict a guy on the fact that he partook in the murders. No matter what, in my opinion, OJ was one of the murderers, if not the sole murderer. Wasted statement that, okay, Nicole comes out, gets her throat slit. Okay, now she's out of the picture. OJ is there, gets in a fight with Goldman. OJ Simpson's a Hall of Fame running back, a professional athlete. No matter how old he is, with his knees bad and concussions, there's a good chance he's going to take him out. If he's in a blind cocaine rage, he's gonna have enough strength and power to do that. So he stabs him a bunch, kills him, and then he goes over and mutilates her and keeps killing her afterwards. That makes more sense to me than there being two accomplices, because all the evidence points to the fact that it was OJ. Nothing lines up on OJ's side. If OJ was a white, normal guy, like if his name was like this, oh, who's that? That's Bill Williams down the street. Everyone would be like, oh, he didn't do anything. You know what I mean? Like, he would get convicted immediately.
So you think like OJ basically talks about an accomplice as to sort of like deflect from himself? Like, it's kind of like saying, I was there, but there was an accomplice there, and you're supposed to think, oh, the accomplice must have done it. It must have been like Charlie Ehrlich.
Well, if you're going to confess, Wasted, like he did in the book, If I Did It, wouldn't you want to do it from a third person narrative where you're saying, okay, suddenly, I was there, but then, another person appeared. He could say it's like another personality that actually did the murder, so he can believe himself that he didn't do it, but he still did it. That's kind of what I perceive out of it, that he made a third person narrative and created an imaginary figure that committed the murder so he could describe what actually happened.
But he was also saying that he couldn't have done it. He couldn't have got rid of all the stuff that he got rid of, because he went back to Rockingham, and somebody else took the knife and the T-shirt or whatever somewhere else, and they never recovered that stuff.
Yeah, but why can't you just throw it away at the airport, wasted? Why can't you just put it in a bag and throw it away at the airport?
He didn't go to the airport, though. I think it was he was saying that Charlie Ehrlich went to the airport and put it.
No, he went to wasted. He went to LAX that night and flew from LAX to Chicago. So you can easily get rid of any evidence. Just throwing it in the airport dumpster, LAX or Chicago, because there's thousands of garbage cans.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, do you think they're gonna let's go look through the fucking dump in LA or the dump in Chicago? I mean, that's going to be a massive amount of garbage, and you're not going to find it after it gets processed, because this was something where he got arrested, I believe, a week after the murder. So by that time, it's already been picked up, put in the garbage, the dump, and it's been processed and thrown in with a bunch of other shit. It's gone permanently.
Another thing is that the Bronco chase. I only just realized this the other day. The Bronco chase seems to be like staged to kind of distract or to focus all the attention on him. Like he's the one, and maybe he was using the Bronco chase to distract from Jason Simpson, who was back at the house. Seemed to be something about the Bronco chase that focused all the light and all the police force on OJ. Like he was saying,
I want to say this about Jason. I don't think if you look at Jason compared to OJ, Jason isn't as big as OJ, and OJ's not that big of a guy. OJ's a running back, so he's about 6'2", 230. I just thought Jason Simpson looks like he's probably about 5'10", maybe 210 pounds, maybe 5'9". I don't see that guy going in there and taking out Goldman and Nicole at the same time. I just don't see it.
Well, OJ has more incidents of violence with Nicole, doesn't he? He actually did.
Oh yeah, he has a history of it. I mean, it's not like this is one of those things that, that popped out of the blue. There's a history of domestic violence. There's a history of rage. There's a history of OJ just being a psychopath and getting away with it because, oh my God, look, it's OJ Simpson. He's America's, sweetheart at the time. He's, the guy in the Naked Gun movies. He's the guy that you see on TV. He's the guy, you're a sports reporter for fucking NBC. There's a reason why, what's that guy? Bob Costas from NBC was one of OJ's best friends. Don Ohlmeyer, which we'll get into that in a second here, the head of NBC West Coast, was one of OJ's best friends, if not his best friend in the world. So he had a lot of people that, could really, deflect what was going on and would back him on the media. But at the same time, it's hard to frame him as this horrible killer, but he can hide from who he actually was.
Yeah, because he had a team, didn't he? I remember that they in his house, his whole front room was just him with white girls that he dated or something, and then they took all those photos out and put in family photos, so that when he did some interview or when the media came, they just saw him as like a family man. But actually, his front room was full of all the pictures of blondes. So they kind of managed his image as well. I got another question just popped up during recording here. This is from Sydney Fan, our dear friend from Australia. So Sydney Fan writes to us and asks us this question. He writes, I often wonder if OJ shot her for the same reason as Oscar Pistorius. Apparently word is Oscar's wife was fucking other guys behind Oscar's back with taunting him about to his face. Ultimately, he got sick of the taunting and shot her. Separate to this, I wonder if OJ was banging some other chick behind Nicole's back. So that's a decent question. What are your thoughts, guys? Yeah, he definitely was. I mean, he admitted that. There's videos of him saying, admitting right in front. He was just doing whatever he wanted to. Like he was admitting in front of Nicole that he cheated on her all the time. Like he said it in a weird way. Like, Daddy was a bad boy last night. He shouldn't have done that.
I mean,
so I think he definitely was. And then
I remember there was one of her friends wasted. One of her friends, I can't remember the name, but it was in I think it was in the ESPN OJ Made for America miniseries, where she mentioned the fact that OJ and her would have such a toxic relationship that, you know, he would spy on her when she was having sex with other people after they separated, that she would get off on it, and then afterwards they'd have sex, a couple days later. That it was a real toxic relationship like that. There was a lot of jealousy and a lot of rage, but there was a lot of weird shit like that happening. So, I mean, it's a possibility. Chris, what do you think?
I just want to touch on that HBO miniseries that you just referenced there. I think it was ESPN, buddy. Yes, was that the one with Cuba Gooding Jr.?
No, that was OJ? FX. That was the FX series about OJ, which was great, by the way.
That's what I was getting at. If you haven't seen that one, it's Cuba Gooding Jr. plays OJ, and what's her name plays the girl from AHS, American Horror Story, plays Marsha Clark. It's a phenomenal series. Phenomenal.
Chris, before we talk about that, if you could do me a slight favor, could you answer the question that our dear friend Cindy Friend asked?
Yeah, so I'm looking at it right now on the forum. OJ didn't shoot her, but I mean, I could see that happening. I mean, I was wondering with the drugs, with the CTE, with everything that OJ was going on in OJ's life, watching his wife fuck out or finding out that his wife is screwing other guys and her taunting him, that's I could see that happening. Yes, that's a really good question, and I think it's a really good possibility.
I wonder if Jason Simpson, Nicole Simpson shagged Jason Simpson. That could have triggered off some rage. If OJ found out that Jason Simpson and Nicole Simpson were having some sort of affair. They seem to have a weird relationship, Jason and Nicole.
Now, if that's the case,
his mother. She's not actually his mother.
No, she's not. No, she's from his first marriage. Wait, okay, so what happened to OJ's first wife?
Don't know. Did she get decapitated?
Well, is she alive? Did she die?
I don't know. You just never hear. You never hear because the kids all seem to end up with OJ, or at least some of them. So she was, she wasn't really part of the life. Jason Simpson especially seemed to want OJ's attention. I don't know. There doesn't seem to be much information about that other side of the family.
So, gentlemen, I mean, one thing we definitely have to talk about is the OJ Simpson Fox special, where it's based on the OJ Simpson, did he do it? Or, if I did it. And I can tell you right now, my personal opinion after watching this video, which I know that you guys have seen, is that there's no doubt on my mind. I mean, guys, what is your opinion after seeing the video?
I'm still in the same position, as in it seems like he did it from that video, because it's just a sort of hypothetical confession. But there's something off about it. Like, why is he doing it at all, and why does he keep talking about an accomplice? Is that to sort of give him what's it called, deniability? Plausible deniability.
Plausible deniability, yeah.
Yeah, people think, maybe it wasn't him, even though he says he basically blacked out.
That's the funny thing about the video, is that he's kind of all holly jolly and laughing about it, and he's very deliberate in saying, because he corrected the interviewee a few times, saying hypothetically, and he made sure to say that hypothetically a couple times. But then all of a sudden it gets really dark, and he's like, and then I blacked out, and then I woke up and there was stuff everywhere. And the lady's like, stuff? What do you mean stuff? And he's like, blood. There was blood everywhere. That was a little, for me at least, that part was a little eye-opening. I don't think it's enough to change my opinion, though.
Well, I disagree with you. I think he gave her a look like, hey, you saw what I did to the other blonde bitch. What do you think I'm going to do to you if you keep asking these questions? One thing that got me is, he tells a story about him and this guy named Charlie, that him and Charlie went over there, and he didn't know why Charlie was there, but he went over there with Charlie, and he saw Nicole to confront about what's going on over there. But the thing that gets me the most is when he says, this stranger that I didn't really know, this Goldman guy, he looks at me and starts trying to get in one of these little kung fu stance. And I say to myself, what, you think you can kick my ass?
It's true.
That doesn't sound like somebody who's hypothetically telling a story. That sounds like someone going in detail. And then later on, after his blackout incident where he wakes up and it's just, everyone's covered in blood and he's just describing how much blood there is, he goes, oh, yeah. The reporter asked him, so you mentioned in the book that you went back to go get your wallet and keys. He goes, oh, yeah, I remember. I forgot those. He forgot to say hypothetically there. He goes, yeah, I remember. I forgot to get those. Yeah, had to go back and get the wallet and keys. And he goes, you had to pick up the clothes too because you got to get rid of the evidence. And then he describes perfectly like what was going on. Like he goes, the Bronco was parked in the alley. I parked over at the neighbor's house. The neighbor had a tennis court that was next to my 2 tennis courts, so I jumped over there. Then I hopped in the shower. But I put the bags down first. I mean, he was like describing perfectly what he would do, not like, hypothetically, a stranger would have approached and, they would have been confronted. He didn't mention anything about like a drug deal going down or anything like, somebody with a motive instead of him murdering Nicole and Ron Goldman.
Yeah, that's why. But there's something still off about why is he even doing this in sort of fake confession, and then why is he bringing in the accomplice? So, and then something that was it Jason Simpson? They found a knife. He had all those diaries with all the talk about knives and how he was going to like cut people or something in his diaries. They also found, when they opened that locker, they also found a knife which matched the knife that they thought was used in the knife that they never found. They found it in Jason Simpson's locker.
I think the only thing they had for physical evidence was the glove, the nick cap, the DNA evidence, of course.
Yeah.
I think that's all they had for actual physical evidence instead of the DNA evidence that was like sprayed everywhere.
When I was thinking about it, remember the watch stopped at like 9:59. That's when supposedly Nicole Simpson got hit for the first time or something. So when it hit the floor, it stopped. The timeline then doesn't work for Jason Simpson to actually leave at 10 o'clock and then get there before 9:59. That kind of rules him out if that clock is right. OJ's ties to the organized crime, like how much coke he was doing, like who his friends were, like Charlie Ehrlich, he was distributing coke and OJ was basically his connect to the celebrity kind of, or the rich people. But he also just hung out with all these kind of like underworld people, underground people in clubs and stuff. So right. There could have been all kinds of mad people with him. Well, you got to think about it this way, dude. The one thing I really want people to consider is, a crime of passion can happen. And, there can be extreme violence in that crime of passion. Add cocaine to the mix, that would explain all the fucking stab wounds and decapitating her head. I mean, that would really, if he's fucking completely coked out of his fucking mind, you add the rage factor in there, and, the guy might have arthritis, he might be old, he might have CTE. Cocaine, CTE, rage, that kind of explains the brutality of the murders, in my opinion, guys. And after seeing this video where he's fucking laughing and chuckling and he has to keep, saying hypothetically left and right, but he's describing exactly what happened at the crime scene, In a way, it's almost like if he did black out, then that to him, it's like a weird event that he doesn't understand, that he did this thing, but it's also, the whole thing seems more like an apology. Or like saying, I did it, but I'm not really that bad a guy. Because
he mentions he blacks out.
What are the laws in the United States regarding being tried for murder? Because technically, he was tried for the murder of those two, and he was found not guilty.
Double jeopardy.
Double indemnity, yeah, exactly. So he cannot be tried again, right?
No, that's why he was tried civilly, and that's why, he lost a civil case where, I know we haven't mentioned that.
That's why this is interesting, because he could be just, like, saying in your face, saying, like, if I did it, but, like, just kind of laughing on the inside because he knows he got away with it, and no matter what he says now, he can't be tried again, right?
You don't think that video is basically him doing that?
That's what I'm getting at. That's exactly what I'm getting at. If he did it.
That's another thing. It's kind of like a double bluff. It's like, if he did do it, then what he's doing is like a really piece of shit kind of interview to do. You know,
yeah.
But if he didn't do it, then it makes more sense. So that may be what he's thinking. You know, act like you're innocent. An innocent person would like laugh about it and go, I don't know what happened. You know, if I did it, I would do this and that.
I
don't know why he's doing it on such a huge, like, public. I would just disappear. But he stayed in the limelight on his golfing YouTube channel for like 10 years, didn't he? And then he's still doing crazy shit with the armed robbery, where his own memorabilia. Like, he's just a maniac, maybe.
Wasted. If he was innocent, follow my logic here. If he was innocent, that means somebody brutally murdered his property, because he always considered Nicole to be his property. I think that's clear by his actions and his behavior throughout the years. That's the mother of his children, and somebody went in there and brutally murdered her. Do you think, honestly, he'd be laughing about it, or do you think he'd be enraged? Because I don't find an innocent person to be like jovial about it, to be laughing about it, to be using all these hypotheticals about it. It'd be someone like, if you look at the John Benet Ramsey case, you see the father. That guy's pissed. He wants to find out who killed his daughter. Like, if he killed her, I mean, that dude's throwing a hell of a cover up, because that man always presents to somebody that's, in pain, that wants to solve, that wants, justice, that thinks that his wife was falsely accused. And every time he gives an interview, he's, you can see the grieving. You can see him being upset. You don't see him ever cracking a joke about it. You don't see him, saying, well, hypothetically, if we did this, you don't see that in people that are, innocent, and that a loved one, because no matter what, he was married to Nicole for years and they have children. At one point or another, and probably even during the murder, he still loved her. So the fact that he's laughing about it and the way he's portraying it, I mean, I don't see that as an innocent man doing that. Chris is going to be linking the video of the If I Did It OJ Fox interview. He's going to have a link to the YouTube video actually below in the description. So if you look down the description, it's going to be in there for you fuckers listening on just podcast only. You're screwed over, but it's really easy to find on YouTube. It's about 7 minutes long, almost 8 minutes, and you guys will be able to find it from there. But we wanted to come back and touch on this, because I came across this video. I'm like, man, this is gold. Like, yeah, we should definitely talk about it. So, Chris, Wasted, what are you guys thinking?
Absolutely. I don't know if it was very interesting to watch the video. It certainly adds a different element to whether or not he did it or not. I don't know if it's enough to change my opinion of whether he did it or not. It seems that video almost seems like a charade to me. It's comical. It's completely, in my mind, it's completely ridiculous. I'm not sure what his motives were for doing it, but it was an interesting watch nonetheless. Have a watch, and it might change your opinion. Wasted?
Now, my question to you is this: before we hit Wasted on this, you're mentioning that one of the questions was you don't know why he did it. Number one, money, because he's been piss broke since the Goldman's got pretty much everything. They got his fucking Heisman Trophy. They got all his property they could get. That's why he moved to Florida. That's why he was doing the auctions. That's why he ended up going to prison, because he stole his own merchandise back. And he was struggling for money. He wasn't living a good life. So I'm sure Fox offered him a shit ton of money. Hey, come down, do this interview with us. So money is the major factor there. But the thing that I got to ask you is, and I want Wasted to answer this too, is do you think that if his son was the main stabber, but he was there with his son, and he, let's say that Ron Goldman hit his son. Listen, someone hits my kid, fucking, I'm going all in. It is what it is. I'm protecting my son with my life, so I'm going to, take part in it. So do you see that if it was his son, that he's definitely an accomplice to the murder, that he actually took part in it, that he was part of the murder itself? Or do you think that's just not a possibility?
I think that's a very real possibility. Absolutely. When I say I don't think he did it, I don't think he did the murders. I do think he was there.
Yeah, maybe.
That doesn't make him any less guilty. Do you know what I mean?
I just don't see that if, let's say, his son, who's still alive, we're not trying to, frame this person or accuse them of guilt. They haven't been found guilty by, any trial or court here in the United States. But let's just say this. If Jason was fighting with Ron Goldman, You don't think OJ is going to get involved?
He could very well have. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you're a father. I'm a father. Someone's hitting their kid. We're fucking going in. I know I am. I'm pretty damn sure you would.
It maybe just didn't want his son to be involved in it at all. Even if his son only played a sort of small part, he was still there, and maybe did do something, but he didn't want to even admit that he was there at all.
So you were talking about that OJ Simpson. I believe it's called OJ Simpson Made in America. So let me tell the actress's name. But yeah, I really enjoyed that. The guy who played Johnny Cochran was fucking fabulous in it. It's a great, I would say that's the closest to an accurate movie or television show of what actually occurred that you're going to find. I enjoyed it. So I'm looking at it right
with John Travolta.
Yes, John Travolta's Robert Shapiro is fantastic. So it's the People vs. O.J. Simpson American Crime Story on FX. It really was just a great series. There was 10 episodes. I watched it with my wife. The person that you were talking about earlier was Sarah Paulson,
right,
playing Marcia Clark. David Schwimmer from Friends was on there, which is just fucking hilarious.
He plays Shapiro, doesn't he?
Kardashian.
No, he plays Robert
Kardashian.
I mean, you got Cuba Gooding Jr. as O.J. Simpson. You got Sterling K. Brown as Christopher Darden. And, I mean, John Travolta as Robert Shapiro was great, but Courtney B. Vance as Johnny Cochran stole the show. But that's a really good one. I was talking about O.J. Simpson Made in America. It was a thing that they did on ESPN, which was, the first 2 episodes are really talking about how, he was a big college star at USC. He was obviously a Hall of Famer, running back for Buffalo. He rushed for over 2,000 yards in a season. He was one of the greatest running backs of all time. And it kind of, shows him going into his television career, his film career, but then it starts showing you the toxic relationship that him and Nicole had. This isn't a situation that, there wasn't years of abuse. There wasn't, there was years of anger. This was something that if someone was going to commit a murder the way that murder happened, that it was somebody that was intimate, someone that, really had a lot of love and a lot of emotion towards Nicole. And, the poor victim, Ron Goldman and Nicole, they got caught up in someone having an absolute fit of rage. Whoever did this, or if it was 2 people, I'm not saying it's not 2 people, whoever did it was definitely in a fit of rage. I mean, this is something that you have to have passion for a person to kill them in that manner. That's my personal opinion. And I don't know how, Chris, I always respect you as a human being. I think you're a very intelligent man. I just don't see how you think OJ didn't do it. I mean, one way or another, he definitely did some stabbing, in my opinion.
I'll always root for the underdog.
So the fucking murderer with the fucking Bruno Mollies and the Isothon is the underdog. Charles Manson, I rooted for him. Go, Charlie, go. Fucking Christ.
Charles Manson's different. Ted Bundy, on the other hand.
Hold on. So we're working on Chris's new statement that no, it wasn't O.J. Simpson. It was the Golden State Killer. I mean,
Golden State Killer. Why not? Put it on him.
So the best thing about this OJ thing, in my opinion, the only thing that came out of this that was great was O.J. Simpson's war that he had with Norm Macdonald. Because I'm the biggest Norm Macdonald fan you're going to find. He's my favorite comedian of all time. I know Chris loves him. And the fact that on Saturday Night Live, every fucking week, Norm Macdonald would go in there and he would just destroy OJ. He was the only person that had the balls to go and just say it how it was, in my personal opinion. And Don Ohlmeyer, who was the head of NBC on the West Coast, told Norm Macdonald, hey, listen, you keep doing this, we're going to fire you. Even though Norm was the most popular Weekend Update host they've had since like fucking Chevy Chase. He was really up there as like one of the old-time greats. And they're like, listen, you do any more OJ jokes, you're fucking gone. Norm Macdonald's response the next time they're on Saturday Night Live, well, he told an OJ joke. Chris, you got the list of jokes?
I have a few in front of me, yeah. According to retailers, the most popular Halloween mask this year is O.J. Simpson. And the most popular Halloween greeting is, I'll kill you and that guy that is bringing over your glasses or treat. I get you, Norm. In his new book, O.J. Simpson says that he would have taken a bullet or stood in front of a train for Nicole. Man, I'm going to tell you, that is some bad luck when the one guy who would have died for you kills you. O.J. Simpson's lawyers say they don't want the families of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ronald Goldman in the courtroom during the trial. They're afraid the presence of the family members will just remind O.J. of how much more killing he still has to do. Tomorrow, Judge Lance Ito will take OJ and the jury on a tour of the now famous crime scene. For the jury, it will be the first look at the actual location. Of course, for OJ, it'll just be a case of been there, done that. It was revealed that this week that defense lawyer Johnny Cochran once abused his first wife. In defense, Cochran said, "At least I didn't kill her like some people I know." In a brilliant move during closing arguments, Simpson attorney Johnny Cochran put on the knit cap prosecutors say OJ wore that night, allegedly, committed the murders. Although OJ may have heard his case when he suddenly blurted out, hey, easy with that. That's my lucky stabbing hat." Well, it's finally official. Murder is legal in the state of California. And then, of course, the classic one, when Norm Macdonald was hosting the ESPYs. And there's Charles Woodson. How about that? What a season he had. He became the first defensive player to win the Heisman Trophy. Congratulations, Charles. That is something no one can ever take away from you. Unless you kill your wife and a waiter, in which case, all bets are off. So those are some of the best jokes from Norm Macdonald. The guy's brilliant, and he was relentless in his attacks on OJ Simpson. And it wasn't just during Saturday Night Live. It was for many, many years afterwards too. He never let up on his jokes for OJ killing Nicole and Ron Goldman.
Man, I'll tell you right now, if you don't, start changing your mind after hearing those jokes, I don't know what to tell you.
If you haven't seen the ESPY Awards, look it up on YouTube. I'll see if I can find a link and put it in the show notes. Everybody is just absolutely stunned when Norm says that. Just stunned. He was brilliant in his own mind. Brilliant comedian, Norm Macdonald. He's missed. I love him. I absolutely love him.
He's my favorite old chunk of coal, if you ask me. But Norm inspired a lot of comedians and is the comedian's comedian. And I think his takes on OJ Simpson were 100% accurate. I've got wasted, at least going along with me that OJ was at least part of the murders, and Chris is holding out. He's, the audience guys. I don't know what you think. I think I'm with the audience here. I think I'm going to get 95% of them agreeing with me that OJ definitely did it. But now you guys are throwing some doubt in there that Jason might have been involved. I think I've almost got Chris convinced that OJ did it. I'm not there yet, but I'm going to get there, folks. Wasted. Yeah, well, wasted. You had some other avenues you wanted to take us with.
There's a sort of connection to the Kardashians. Kim Kardashian is getting a lot of condolences on Twitter for her dad passing.
No, not Kim, Chloe.
I think it's Kim that's getting all the messages on Twitter recently. People think that Kim Kardashian is OJ's daughter.
No, wasted. Wasted.
Chloe, isn't it?
It's Chloe, you dumb bastard.
No, it's just what I read was that it was Kim Kardashian's been getting stuff on Twitter, but it's probably like your story is that it's actually Chloe that's actually his daughter. But I think people are just trolling Kim Kardashian on Twitter.
Right.
Yeah, but I mean, if you look at the Kardashians, like there's Robert Kardashian was OJ Simpson's best friend. There's tons of photos of OJ Simpson, Nicole Simpson with Kris Kardashian at the time, that was her name, and Robert Kardashian. And you look at the Kardashian daughters, all right? You got Kim, you got Kourtney, and you got Khloe. Kim and Kourtney are like 5'2". They're tiny little girls, all right? Or tiny women. And then you look at Khloe. Before all the plastic surgery, before everything else she's had done to her, you look at her, she's like 5'10". She looks just like fucking OJ, dude. I'm telling you right now, I truly believe that Kourtney is the daughter of OJ.
Yeah, I think it was that show, People versus OJ, where in the show Robert, it's only like a 5-minute thing, but it's like Robert Kardashian sits down, his daughter's in some restaurant, like for Sunday brunch or something, and he tells them all like the dangers of fame or the emptiness of it or something. But that turned out to be exactly that's what they learned from their experience, is that the OJ Simpson, like the Bronco chase, was like one of the first moments of like reality TV. And then the 24-hour news cycle, I mean, the coverage of the OJ Simpson trial was kind of like the first time the 24-hour news cycle really like kicked into gear. So, I mean, when I watched that show, I thought, this is an interesting connection between the Kardashians and OJ being like the person who invented reality TV. And then they go on to basically have a whole career based on sort of controversy and basically using the same model as OJ for like generating attention and making money, because even OJ made money off the killing, because his book if I did it, I think he got paid like 3.5 million for it.
Yeah, but that all went to the Goldmans. They actually changed the name, and they minimized the if on the book. They made it really, really tiny in the front of it, so it just looks like
I did.
Yeah. But no, all that went to the Goldman family.
I think the Kardashians kind of learned something from their experience with the OJ trial about how like fame and celebrity works and how to manipulate it. I mean, I thought when I was watching the TV show, I thought that was like an original like idea, but then when I looked online, it seemed like everybody says that. Like every single even Time magazine or CBS or every there's so many articles about how OJ's Bronco chase kind of invented reality TV.
All right, interesting.
I mean, I agree with it.
Yeah, well, absolutely. There's definitely something there. Speaking of reality TV, it was an episode of Keeping Up with the Kardashians in 2012. The episode's titled "Who's Your Daddy?" Kris Jenner, or Kris Kardashian, whatever her name is, attempts to convince her daughter, Khloe, to take a DNA test, attesting that it was something Khloe needs in order to feel complete. Now, this all stems from, and this isn't so much a conspiracy. There's definitely something rooted in reality with this, because Kris Jenner admitted that she had an affair while she was married to Robert Kardashian. Now, she's denied having an affair with OJ Simpson, and I guess that's for obvious reasons. But the rumor mill began churning following the death of Robert in 2003. Jan Ashley, his wife at the time, claimed in an interview in 2012 that Robert had confessed to her that Khloe was not his biological daughter. And he just kind of looked at me and said it, and it was like kind of matter of fact. He said, well, Khloe's not really a Kardashian, right? And that was it. So there's that, and then there's of course, Kris Jenner, like I said, admitting to having the affair. So all this points to that, and then I guess it was really messing with Khloe and her head. But she went on to say that my dad is Robert Kardashian, my other dad is quote unquote Caitlyn Jenner. I don't need someone to tell me who my family is. So I guess that's her way of coping with it, right? But a simple DNA test would prove that right or wrong.
Well, you get back to DNA here, Chris. And what I want to ask you is, how do you, in your opinion that OJ didn't do it, how do you disregard all the DNA, like the hair evidence, hairs that were consistent with Simpson's found on the cap at the Bundy residence, hairs consistent with Simpson found on Ron Goldman's shirt, the fiber evidence, cotton fibers consistent with the carpet in the Bronco found on the glove at Rockingham, fibers consistent with the carpet found from the Bronco on the cap at the Bundy residence, blood evidence, the killer dropped blood near the shoe prints at Bundy. Blood dropped at Bundy shoe was the same type as OJ Simpson's. About 0.5% of the population would match. Simpson had fresh cuts on his hand the day after the murder. Blood found in the Bronco. Blood found in the foyer in the master bedroom at Simpson's home. Blood found on Simpson's driveway. Blood on the socks in OJ's home matched Nicole's. Glove evidence, like the glove found at the Bundy residence, was the same size as OJ's. That there's pictures with OJ wearing the gloves. The shoe evidence, shoe prints found at Bundy were size 12. Bruno Malley's blood shoe prints on the Bronco carpet is consistent with Malley's shoes. So the exact Bruno Malley shoes that OJ was seen wearing, there's blood evidence from that shoe print in the fucking Bronco. I just don't understand, with all the blood evidence that you have, and you're getting a 0.5% chance that it's someone else instead of him. How do you say that it's not him?
That doesn't prove that he killed him.
It doesn't prove that he did it. Yeah.
And also, the
just
hair
proves that he was there.
in the hair they found in the cap had it had 6 different. It was basically consistent with African American, not OJ. It could have been Jason Simpson's, or it could have been OJ. There was no. It wasn't
But you have to go to the coincidence of why he was there. Like, he has a history of abuse with her, and he was there at the exact time of the killings. And then he wrote a book that basically described exactly what happened. Like, the book, if I did it, pretty much is exactly what occurred that night. Like, if you match it up to what the prosecutors were trying to say happened, it's an exact match.
Well, yeah, well, I've already agreed with all that. I'm just addressing why the evidence doesn't prove guilt beyond reasonable doubt, because the blood on the sock was found to be a mix of from a test tube, which means that it was planted by Van Adder. So that's inadmissible. It's not real evidence. The shoe prints, like, he was there, but it doesn't prove he killed her. The hair is not specifically linked to OJ Simpson. They could only work out that it was from an African American. So it's all kind of like not. Do you know what I mean? It's not real evidence. It doesn't prove it.
I understand where you're coming from. I also understand where Chris is coming from, but I want to ask Chris this question. With OJ's history of rage, him clearly having a cocaine problem at the time, and now you agree, are you agreeing that he was at the scene then? Yes or no?
Potentially.
Me? Yeah.
What does potentially mean? I mean, do you not think he was there?
I don't know.
Okay, but the evidence points that he was there. So why would all this evidence be there if he wasn't there?
But when was he there?
Okay, so he obviously left within like 30 minutes of after the murders happened. He was on a plane he was at his residence getting picked up by a limo driver. So, he had to be there at the time of the murders. The window's too, short. The murders happened, I think, at like 9:45, 10 o'clock. And by like 11:30, this guy's on a flight. He's going to LAX. So,
and
I mean,
that still says nothing of him killing them. It just, if he was there, there's no way to tell if he was there during them. He could have got there after and said, "Fuck this, I'm out of here." I don't know what the fuck this
Go
is.
look at the time frame. I don't have the time frame right in front of me right now, but if you look at the actual time frame, dude, let's see. Hold on. So 9:30 to 9:45, Charles Cahill walking his dog by a Simpsons resident Rockham does not see the Bronco. So he's not there. He's not at his house at 9:45. At 10:02, Simpson attempts to call Paulo.
That just means Buddy didn't see the truck.
But hold on. So between 10:15 and 10:40 is the period which the murders took place. At 10:20 to 10:30, limo driver Alan Park, scheduled to take Simpson's airport, does not see the Bronco. At 10:40, 10:43, 10:49, Alan Park buzzes the intercom but gets no response. At 10:50, a white Bronco observed at the intersection of Bundy and Doherty. At 10:51, Cato Kalin hears 3 bumps on the wall outside the wall. Alan Park sees a man wearing at 10:54, Alan Park sees a man wearing dark clothes about 6 feet tall and 200 pounds walking across the driveway of the Simpsons residence. At 10:55, Simpson lies to Alan Park. So, I mean, the time that he had to be there at the murders, dude. Like, wasn't seen, his car wasn't there.
You said between 10:15 and 10:40. Let's say the murders happen at 10:15 and he gets there at 10:38.
Okay, but that's an incredible happenstance. You understand what I'm saying?
That's falling into your time frame, though.
Sure.
And Nicole,
why is he there?
Nicole Brown's watch stopped at 9:59. So they say that's when the murders actually took place, as in her watch smashed against the ground at 9:59.
Well,
and again, that can mean anything. I keep my clocks 5 minutes fast, just for me, because I'm eccentric and crazy.
I don't know how that fits in with the evidence.
But what I'm saying is the time period that
blood on his shoes.
The time period that we're talking about here, dude, like, it's incredible happenstance that he's there, because now we can pretty much say he wasn't at home. And you can say that he was definitely in the area of there, or he was somewhere else, but he was not home during this time period that the murders occurred. And then magically, the amount of time that it would take to get back, he arrives back at home to, get picked up by his limo driver. So why would he be there, Chris? That's my question to you.
I can't answer that.
Okay.
Nobody can answer that.
But there's blood DNA. But hold on, there's DNA evidence saying that, hey, he was there. There's DNA evidence before saying that he, all the stuff that he's got Ron Goldman's shit on him, he's got her stuff on him, so it shows that he was there, number one. Number two, he has a history of rage, and there's no other explanation of him, not being there. You know, he was there. So with
Buddy
him
down
being-
the street here has a history of rage and a fucking cocaine problem. He's not going to murder his wife.
Okay, but let's say this. Your buddy down the street who has a history of rage and cocaine problem, his wife gets murdered and he's there. Get what I'm saying or no?
Of course I get what you're saying, but you can't deal in circumstances. You need...
You have DNA evidence.
We've been saying this
what do you want, a video recording of him?
Everything that you're saying, yes, sure, fine. But nothing concretely says that he did it. And that's why he got off.
Okay. When he wrote that book, If I Did It, did you read the part where the Charlie
I have
character...
not read the book. I have not read the book.
Wait, so can you describe to him how... I know you've read the book, right?
No, only extracts.
Okay. But he goes into the exact detail of how the murders occurred as the Charlie character.
Yeah.
I mean, exact details. Right, Wasted?
Like he basically says, you know, basically how he did it. If he would do it, this is how he'd do it. So he's sort of saying this is how he would do it, but he didn't. So, but he's saying there was an accomplice to help him. So that's the main thing, is that he basically says how he would do it. You know, he's kind of telling you that he did it.
And how come he didn't on his deathbed as he was dying? Why didn't he admit that he did it?
I got a good answer to that. He made
please.
everyone. Hold on, Chris. He made everyone who visited him. The last week, this was reported by the New York Post and a bunch of other papers, that everyone who visited him had to sign NDAs. It's in the chat. It's in the. I put it up.
I know. That's why I brought it up.
Good job. Hey, attaboy.
Was that just to protect him, just in case when he's like taking all the painkillers?
Yeah.
He'd be high, and then he might say something weird.
He might go into, hey, you remember that night that I killed them two motherfuckers? I mean, listen, you all got to sign this. Why? Because I'm just going to tell you something right now. I killed your mommy, and I killed that other guy. I mean, why would he have the NDA signed? Like, what is he trying to protect?
Even, like I said before, like even Alan Dershowitz, who was on that dream team, he says he wasn't found innocent. He was found not guilty. And it was, you know, because they tampered with evidence, and there was a female jury.
Oh yeah, the jury was completely biased. I mean, Cardi posted somewhere on the forum where one of the jurors was saying, "Listen, no matter what, we're going to vote him innocent because what was going on in LA at the time."
Yeah, like she said, it was 90%, and there was only 10 jurors or something. So it was like basically 9 people had already made up their mind without all the evidence. They just weren't going to find him guilty because he's OJ. And they said, "Do you think that's, you know, isn't that bad?" And she said, "So what?" It was like revenge for Rodney King, sort of thing. It's happened in the UK as well. There was some guy called what's it called? Ken Odd or something. I don't know. Anyway, he was tax evasion. He definitely did the tax evasion, but the jury liked him so much that they wouldn't convict him. So they all said not guilty to tax evasion. It was Ken Dodd. It's like a magician or a comedian or something.
Let me change the subject real quick, because I get what you guys are all saying, but right now in America, we have the Trump trials. Like, Donald Trump is on trial in multiple different cases. He's got one down in Georgia. He's got 2 up or 3 up in New York. Is Donald Trump's trial becoming the new OJ trial? I mean, a guy just set himself on fire yesterday.
Yeah, dude, I briefly read about that. What's up, man? Some guy set himself on fire in New York City over the Trump trial?
Yeah, they're doing a live CNN, like, hey, we're here at the, the Trump trial reporting on there, and right behind him, the guy just lit himself on fire, and they caught it on live TV.
Crazy. Did he die?
Yeah. Lighting yourself on fire is not a good idea.
No, it's a horrible idea, and it's a horrible, painful death. Like, it's awful.
But what I'm saying is, with that kind of crazy shit going on, is this becoming like the OJ Simpson trial of this generation?
It's definitely a witch hunt.
Are they televising it?
What's that?
Don't get me wrong. Donald Trump's a scumbag, and we've talked about him in the past. I mean, I voted for him in 2016. I think he's a better option than Biden right now for our country. But the guy is also a shitbag. I mean, he does, shit. He, doesn't pay his employees. He fucks around with banks. But guess what? That's what all billionaires do. Every one of them's like that. If you're Democrat, Republican, it doesn't matter. They're all doing that shit. So I mean, what they're trying to accuse him of is ridiculous because they all do it.
I think Alan Dershowitz, again, he said something about the Trump thing. He said that if it was televised, then everybody would be on Trump's side in this trial. Because when you see the actual courtroom and what's happening, it's different from getting your news filtered through the media, who just keep saying that he's this terrible guy. Like I said, he's kind of demonizing him. But if you actually saw the case, actually, it's such a technical case that it's not. You're allowed to pay hush money. You're allowed to pay porn stars off. But they just use the wrong. They use campaign funds instead of doing it through another way. You can do it legally. It's legal to pay people off.
Yeah. The crazy thing about this too, Wasted. Right now they're banning him. They have a gag order on him, so he can't even talk publicly about what's going on. They're not televising this. There's a gag order. There's barely any reporting of what's happening there. And you also add to the fact that the judge won't even let him attend his youngest son's high school graduation. I mean, this is clearly just a witch hunt to a large degree.
The story, the scandalous story would be that he goes to jail. It's like the opposite. Being found guilty and then go to jail would be the big story.
It'd be funny though.
Not guilty.
He goes to jail and he still gets elected president, and he just pardons himself from jail.
Yeah, and then the motorcade ride from jail to the White House.
It'd be bigger than the fucking Bronco chase, dude. Well, live here, Donald Trump. Okay, yep. We see the convoy coming up here. Here's the Secret Service. It appears that Donald Trump now is walking out of prison. Yep. Okay. Yep. The Secret Service is grabbing him. He's just acquitted himself and pardoned himself of all crimes, and he's now driving from there to Air Force One to go to the White House.
What are the laws in the United States about? Would he be able to be president if he's a convicted criminal?
As long as it's not a felony, yep.
I mean, look at Obama and Biden.
I mean, look at all of them, dude. I mean, every fucking one of them. But I mean, I really think that this Trump case has the potential to be the next big OJ type thing in America, where it just takes over.
Yeah,
I agree.
Are they televising it though? If they televise it, it would be, I think. But they don't want you to see it, I don't think.
Yeah, but he knows how to work the media. He knows how to work his crowd. I just see him doing something crazy. Even though he's got the gag order, dude, he's still on his. He has his own version of Twitter. I don't know what it's called, but he's still posting, dude. I could see him, getting. Yeah, True Social. So I could see him breaking the gag order and then them putting him jail for 30 days because he's not going to shut up.
No.
I think he's just doing a lot of facial expressions now, like scowling.
I mean, do you guys find it odd that Alan Dershowitz once again is involved in this shit? That motherfucker gets involved in everything.
Yeah, Epstein, OJ.
Trump.
He defends everybody. He's also doing the Diddy case, probably.
Is he?
I don't know. Just seems like he would be. I can't even. He might be. He's got nothing else to do.
I mean, but seriously, I think this is a very interesting topic, and I'm not trying. I know you guys are getting a little tired here because you're not used to going on a real long show that I like to do because I'm a psychopath. But guys, think about this. This Trump trials, he's got one in Georgia. He's got 2 or 3 in New York. This could end up being as big as OJ for social media, because we didn't have social media back then. We didn't have Twitter, Facebook, Reddit. Everything else wasn't available back then. And with Trump right now, if something they already have a guy lighting himself on fucking fire, this is going to get crazier and crazier.
So what was the guy's purpose for lighting himself on fire? To protest Trump, or was he pro-Trump or against Trump?
I believe he was against Trump, because there's a picture of him standing next to Bill Clinton. The guy looked really tiny. I saw that real quick. I mean, I don't know. I mean, this is like the Trump derangement syndrome is unbelievable. I mean, yeah, he's been a scumbag on some things, but to compare him to other people, like the fact that he's getting charged with like the classified documents when fucking Biden had a garage in his garage.
The exact same thing, yeah.
Exact same thing. They're like, oh yeah, and then like the investigator came out and said, yeah, Joe Biden's not competent enough to, he's guilty, but we're not going to try him because he's not mentally capable. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Like, wait a second. So you're telling me the guy who's got the fucking, the buttons to put the nukes, the codes, hey, listen, let's end the world. The guy has the nuclear arsenal and the strongest military in the world is not competent. You're telling me he's not, mentally there. That's disturbing as fuck.
Highly disturbing.
They just don't like Trump.
No, they just don't like the guy. Yeah, exactly. And they really, because they know he's going to win the election. It's this year, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Dude, I live in Massachusetts, okay? The other day, me and my wife went to the grocery store, and Massachusetts is very known to be a Democratic state. It's a Democratic stronghold. And there's a guy who's got a big old American flag, like a giant one on his pickup truck, and then he's got another flag on his pickup truck that says, fuck Joe Biden. And this is a blue state, buddy. This is a very Democrat strong. This is, the state of fucking, we got Elizabeth Warren as our senator. We got, the state of John F. Kennedy, where the Kennedys were all from. I mean, the fact that I see all these fuck Joe Biden things, I see this all the time just driving around, dude.
Yeah.
I mean,
they know if he makes it to the election, they know he's going to win, and I think they're pulling out all the stops to stop him from actually winning the election or actually getting there. I mean,
yeah, it's also kind of like a smear campaign. Like, it influences people just to say, like, the religious right don't like the idea of him, he's pretending to be family values, but just confirming that he was like sleeping with Stormy Daniels or whatever. That might, influence voters.
The fact that she's just a dirty porn star. I mean, it's not like she's like, oh, he was sleeping with like a school teacher or like a nurse. It's a fucking porn star. She's, this woman was literally paid to suck cock. I mean, how is she a credible witness? It's like, okay, the hooker said that he paid her off. She's a hooker.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, one thing I wanted to say. That's right, Wasted. You have a lot of experience in that, and I'm proud of you, brother. But one thing I wanted to say right now is like this whole thing that's going on with Trump and Biden, and how this relates to the OJ cases, because I think it's going to be the next big thing that takes over pop culture. But they're pushing from the Democratic side that Russian interference is going to happen as an election. So earlier today, our buddy Slugworth over on badapplesforum.com, he posted a thing from Medvedev, who's one of the Russian higher-ups. And he writes, but considering the Russophobic decision that took place, I can't help but wish the USA, with all sincerity, to drive into a new civil war with themselves as quickly as possible, which I hope will be very different from the war between the North and the South in the 19th century, and will be waged using aircraft, tanks, military, MLRS, all types of missiles and other weapons, and which will finally lead to the inglorious collapse of the vile, evil empire of the 21st century, the United States. I mean, dude, that's coming straight from Russia. That's coming straight from one of the higher-ups in Russia. I'll tell you exactly who he is here in a second.
That's a pretty powerful statement.
Yeah, I mean, and the Democrats keep saying that Russian interference is going to happen. And I'm just trying to tell you what exactly his role is. I believe he's the Russian president, believe it or not. Yeah, he's a former Russian president.
Right.
He's the deputy chairman of the Security Council. This guy used to be the president of Russia, the deputy commander of the Security Council now. So, I mean, the Democrats keep pushing Russian interference, and the Russians sure as hell look like they want to interfere. I mean, this is crazy what's going on. I honestly believe this is going to be the next big OJ thing in pop culture, where everyone's watching on their TVs and it's affecting everyone anywhere you go. What do you guys think?
Definitely for the election. It could be the election. Something could have happened around that time, which is just, crazy. Maybe crazier than January 6th.
You got to imagine with all the rage that this country has right now, and I don't wish that for anyone. Like, I don't care if you're a Democrat or a Republican. The only thing I ask is just treat other people by the golden rule. Treat people how you want to be treated and try to be a nice person. We're all on this planet together. The old Red Green show up in Canada, which I like to watch, was he always said the statement, hey, we're all in this together. And that's where we truly are. And there's just so much divide and separation and so much general hate right now. That Civil War movie just came out and it was #1 in the box office.
Yeah, what's I keep seeing the ads for it, but all it is just explosions and people pointing guns at each other. What's it about? Is it about a civil war in the United States?
It is. It's about journalists trying to accurately report what's going on in the world. Supposedly, I can't go in depth on it because I didn't prep for it, but supposedly America went to war with itself. And there's these reporters trying to get to Washington to go interview the president and document what's happening. And throughout their travels from like New York City to Washington, D.C., they just see all this violence, all this hate, all these murders. And it shows a description of just how indifferent the world is. It actually is not a political movie from what I've read. It doesn't, take sides either way. It says the people that went against it were like Texas and California went against the United States, which that kind of that's a smart way to play it because Texas is a red state and California is a blue state, and saying that those two were the ones united to go against the United States. It kind of eliminates the political divide of Republican versus Democrat.
Well, I mean, it's no different up here. I mean, we love our media up here, and we love watching TV, and we love getting our news from the TV, and we love a good news story, right? So, the election is happening this year down in your country, and it will, if it's not now, it will be the biggest news story for sure. It will be the biggest story.
Chris, right here in our country, we have a massive inflow of illegal immigrants, like massive. My state has it, New York has it. All these places, we're just being overflown. There's been like fucking 3 million people that have crossed in the last year into the United States. And all these people are taking up all public resources so that lower income residents and minorities, they're not able to get the services they need because it's going to these illegal migrants. But no one's checking who's coming over the border, dude. I mean, that could be Islamic jihadists, it could be Russians, it could be Chinese, it could be cartel members. I mean, are you having the same problem up in Canada?
So, yes. So last week I referenced that rant that Bill Maher went on, and he actually talked about immigration in Canada. So last year in Canada, we had 1.3 million immigrants come into our country, and he said that's the equivalent of 11 million immigrants going into the United States over the same time. It's an astronomical number. We don't have the infrastructure to handle them. We don't have the housing to handle them. We don't have the jobs to handle them. But yet they keep coming in. Now, I'll say this to the day I die. If somebody wants to pack up their house, if somebody wants to pack up their lives on the other side of the world and come over here to this country because they think they're going to have a better life because it's so bad over there, I say come over here. But you have to stop. Like, the mass immigration has to stop because we can't handle it. We can't handle it.
Buddy, it's going to cost my state $1 billion this year to house these people. And like I said, I don't mind legal immigration. Like, hey, if you want to, come over here and be legal and go through the process and become an American and pay taxes and everything like that, hey, God bless you. We got some land, we got some open spaces, you can do that. But the fact that these people are flooding the cities, that they're destroying, they're all staying in these luxury hotels, by the way. They're not staying at, these shit tents or like, bunks. They're staying in these hotels that the hotels are charging you like $300 a night for them to be there. And then recently, a lot of them in New York City, they got kicked out of the luxury hotels and they went protesting at City Hall, bitching about having to go live in like a fucking dorm instead of living at a luxury hotel. I mean, they're ungrateful. They're destroying the city itself. Like, New York right now looks like Escape from New York from fucking John Carpenter. I mean, the city has literally become the Warriors again. I expect Charles Bronson to be running through the fucking streets.
Yeah, it hasn't really reached my city yet, but there's...
It's too cold.
It is cold here. I will admit, I love it. I love that it's cold.
I think they're afraid of Bret Hart, buddy.
And they have reason to be afraid of Bret Hart.
Fucking sharpshooting every one of them.
I say it hasn't really hit our city, my city, but it has. I mean, rent for a 2-bedroom apartment here you're looking at about $2,100 a month, which is fucking stupid. It's more than my mortgage.
Holy shit! Can I have your house for that, please? Please?
$2,100. Yeah.
$2,100 a month for a mortgage right now isn't bad, because I'm telling you right now, I live in Massachusetts, and the average price for a fucking 2-bedroom is like $2,800 to $3,000 if you don't want to live in the ghetto. If you want to live in the ghetto, you can probably get it for about $2,500. And we're not talking nice places. They want first-class security, and you got to have excellent credit. And guess what? The jobs don't pay that for me.
Yeah. No, you're right, man. You're right.
So people are struggling. They're not going to vote for Biden. They're going to vote for Trump because, you know, guess what? During the Trump era, shit was cheap, dude. Like, gasoline is really cheap. Your groceries were cheap. There was no inflation. The economy was fucking booming. Guess how many wars happened under Trump?
0.
Exactly. So people are going to be like, listen, he might have been an asshole, but I mean, the country was running pretty fucking smooth. And it truly was. And now under Biden, it's just gone completely shit. I mean, even when COVID happened, I know people don't like the guy, but he did everything he could to really get the shit handled.
I agree.
And he even blamed China. I think you guys are worn out, but we've had a really good conversation tonight. I'm gonna try to finish the show on this note. Wasted. Did OJ Simpson do it?
Maybe.
Chris,
Probably.
did OJ Simpson do it? Oh, I got a probably. Wasted. Hold on, I want to get wasted. Give me a percentage that OJ did it.
Probably like 69.
Prick. Chris. What
I'm gonna have to go with. There's a definite maybe in there.
You guys suck as a jury. I mean, I would have been the prick that would have just fucking gone to mistrial, because I'm telling you 100% he did it. Now, was the son involved? Possibly. Was the guy Charlie involved? Possibly. But guess what? I believe he was there. I believe he partook in it, which, guess what? If you partook in stabbing somebody to death that were innocent people, your ass should be charged and go to prison. But that's where the OJ thing, I think we touched everything on there. I can't believe the route. Blah 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 blah. The left turn we took going down the Puffy aisle, you know, and all that shit that was going down there. And then we took another right turn down the Trump aisle. I mean, I really think we addressed everything currently going on. This has been a very long episode. I hope we answered all your questions. We had one last question, and the only reason I want to answer this is because if you ask us an AMA, we're going to answer it. Now, this one's completely off topic, and after we're done answering this one, we're going to end the show here, because my co-hosts right now, boys, they're tapping out. They're not used to going back to these long-ass fucking shows that I run. Let me just get to it real quick. It's from our buddy Void Locos, and I'm just going to go to the page here, blah, blah, blah. All right. Okay, so this is from Void Locos, and this is off topic as hell, but we're going to answer this one. Do you guys think after Israel and Palestine gets nuked off the map completely by sleepy pedo Biden, will Trump build oil rigs and Trump towers over there, and now that's flatter than Elliot Page's chest?
Great question. I love it. Flatter than Elliot Page's chest and sleepy pedo Biden. Well worded, Void Locos. I like it. I'm gonna let Wasted take the reins on this one, and then I'll chime in after.
I think there'll be a lot of real estate deals. Yeah, they're gonna build some condos, or is that the question? What are they going to do with the Gaza territory?
Yes.
After it gets nuked. Yeah, I think they're going to. What they want to do is turn it into like a smart city, and then build a lot of beachfront like properties on the Gaza seafront. So it's probably going to be a destination. Real estate. Yeah, turn it into a tourist destination.
I personally, I think the U.S. wants nothing to do with it, honestly. Even if you get rid of Israel and Palestine, there's still going to be trouble there, because what do you got there? You got the Jordan and the Mediterranean running through there, right? Those are two main waterways. So it's more trouble.
The Mediterranean and the Red Sea. I'm with you, Chris. Israel. I was going to say, I was with Chris, the fact I think America, even with Trump, doesn't want anything to do. Trump was trying to make a peace thing where Saudi Arabia was going to recognize Israel. I mean, what's going on right now between Israel and Gaza is horrific. I feel absolutely horrible for the poor Palestinians that are not affiliated with Hamas that are being killed. It's just absolute leveling and destruction over there. It's bad. I know Hamas are scumbags and deserve to die, and I understand Israel's right to defend itself, but also what's happening with the Palestinian people that are just innocent civilians getting killed sucks. And I think America's taking kind of the smarter stance of, staying away from it, but at the same time, we just sent Israel a bunch of fucking arms and couple $1 billion to fund up their missiles and all that bullshit. So I think the smartest play is stay the fuck out of the Middle East and let them handle their own shit and mind their own business, is my personal opinion.
Yeah, I think Israel has this the Ben Gurion Canal project, which I think in 1948, 49, they closed the Suez Canal during the war in Israel, between Israel. And so now they've got this project that's been on hold for a long time. That they would put this Ben Gurion Canal project, which would connect Israel to the kind of west and the east. So that's some kind of motivation for what they're doing. If you can't work out what they're trying to do. Then they'd have their own trade route, and you couldn't stop them from basically profiting.
Do you guys know the Van Buren hand signal?
No.
I'm just gonna leave that there. If you get that reference, you get it. If you don't, you don't. It's a great reference.
Well,
it's a great
reference on a great reference like that, I think that's a good way to end the show. It's been interesting. This has been more of a debate than a joke cracking that we're going to do, but I like the episode, so I hope you as an audience like it. We always appreciate your feedback. Wasted, is there anything you want to say before we punch out?
I'm not black, I'm OJ.
We always knew that, Wasted. We always fucking knew that. Now it's time for the end of the show, so I'm going to send it over to Chris to take us on. Chris?
All right, thanks for listening, everybody. Look for the show under the ScratchTrax Production on YouTube. Hit like and subscribe, please. Everybody that would listen to the first listen or streamed or downloaded the first episode, thank you. We obviously are going to continue doing it. We appreciate everything you do. So hit like and subscribe. Once again, if you're on Spotify, hit subscribe and get us wherever we get your podcasts. We're available everywhere: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Castbox, iHeartRadio, everywhere. Just find us there. ScratchTrax Productions, SHEEEIT Radio. Thanks for listening, everyone.